Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, and good night, I suppose, because this whole 360 clock really bothers me sometimes. All right, so I'm assuming I'm making noises and things are happening. Let's check. Are we functional? Make noises, dude. Are you just gonna freeze up on me? That ain't cool. I don't know. Yeah, noises, noises, noises. All right, so we're making noises. That's cool. What's up, Andrew? Boy, you are a late owl and an early riser. Midwest, good to see you, bud. Hit that like button on your way through. I don't know why. I don't really care. You can if you want to. I guess it's a neat habit to get into. Good morning, folks. Good to see y'all. Okay, cool. I've got like the most unreal lag I have seen on this rig. I've never tried to do this early in the morning before, and I've got 2 minutes and 32 seconds of lag between typing into my own chat and it showing up in StreamYards over there, which, as I understand, is half of the conversion. So between here and there, and then from there to getting to y'all, or from y'all back to me, it's getting extensive. It's kind of hard to deal with. So how y'all doing this morning? Oh yeah, I may clip in on your driving in a little while just for some background visuals. So try not to run over nobody while I'm live. At least once. Anyway, and if you do run over somebody, I want to know how many points they're worth immediately. I want you to like slide to a stop screaming, I got 30 points or whatever, and explain why. That'd be lovely. I gotta check you out. Hold up. Hey, you got a wrench. Drop your loot. Where are you at? Drop your loot. Here. We'll do that. I got a few channels I went and found. One of which was suggested by a friend of the channel, Old Woofy. He's brought in a couple of really good ones. He brought me Landis Expandus, and we're gonna take a look at Dead Bug Says today. I got a few channels. The first one is linked at the top, and I will try to remember to keep them linked as we're going through. Thank you, because I was looking for that. What are you doing? You ain't killed nobody yet. You're good. You're doing good, bud. Just the way you do it. All right. We'll let you run over there for a little while. Why not? Ain't got nothing better to do with it. Yep. And we will. Let me put that away since it's working. Do I sound like weird? Do I need to get closer to the mic? True crime, today's stories, evil Nancy vice president. Sometimes I feel like I'm having a stroke when I'm reading some comments. It's just, yeah, bud. You should be driving and not listening to this silliness anyway, because I'm going to distract you with this one. I got a couple of really good channels. There's one called I think it's They Almost Got Away with Murder, or They Got Away with Murder. Anyway, one channel, one video is about an unsolved murder. One video is about a missolved murder. One video is about a murder that was solved but could not be convicted for whatever reason. And then there's Dead Bug Says, which is just kind of his own thing. I think it's a solved one. Close Squatch? You like it real close, baby? Is that how you want it? You want me to just whisper lovingly into your ear all night? We might be able to arrange something. Definitely going to have to include a link for that. That's a totally different site, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. All right, so the first one is, what's his name? Damn it, I always miss his name. Let's see. It's because it's so normal. Eric Allen. It's a perfectly average name, like John Doe or Abraham Zemuckle Smith. I mean, perfectly ordinary. right. Am I crazy? But you are. Yeah, it's totally muted. All right. Let's work on this. All right. Cool. See, StreamYards is a weird critter. Let's see that. So, all right. I'm registering. That's not. Why is that not? All right. Nope. See, this is one of those moments where it's like, why does everything work backstage and then not work once you get out here? I bet it's in his. Okay, that checks out, that checks out, that checks out. Let's see. That's, I hate updates. They absolutely piss me off because this worked just fine last night, just like that. Welcome to Sasquatch Hills, where the technical issues are part of the show. We're all going to learn about this one today. Let's see. So all of that's correct. There's nothing wrong with that. Can y'all hear this? I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want, and all right, so that works. Then this end is what's the issue, right? So this should actually be balance. And that and
next upload. Stacy's mom, Janice, described Stacy as funny and bubbly, someone who seemed to always have a positive attitude. Similarly, Susie's friends described her as fun and happy, with a tendency to be OCD at times, enough that her friends would poke fun of her for it. Stacy and Susie both grew up
and from the top, folks. Let's try this again.
I'm Mrs. McCall, and this is my daughter.
Okay.
And they're missing, and we'd like to put posters in your windows, on your doors.
Okay.
I feel like I'm in a bad dream. I saw her graduate Saturday night. We were there, and now she's gone. We don't know where.
It was an exciting and hopeful night on June 6, 1992 in Springfield, Missouri, as the graduating class of Kickapoo High School had one last night to celebrate together before going their separate ways. It would end up being a night to remember, but not for the reasons that they would want it to be. This story focuses on three girls, Stacy, Susie, and Susie's mom, Cheryl, the circumstances surrounding their mysterious disappearance that night, and why 30 years later, we still don't know what happened to them, if they're still alive, or who is responsible. Before we dive in, I want to let everyone know that I'm still working on the Murdaugh case. I'm working on getting a few things together for episode 7, but honestly, just wanted to take a short break from the Murdaugh story.
Hello, Claiborne
I spent
County.
some time for the holidays in Missouri with some
folks.
family and figured I'd try something a little different. I plan on covering more cases the way I've been covering the Murdaugh case, with multiple in-depth episodes, but I might cover some cases like I do this one, with a single episode. Let me know your thoughts on this type of coverage in the comments below. We'll be back to the Murdaugh case with episode 7 being my next upload. Stacy's mom, Janice, described Stacy as funny and bubbly, someone who seemed to always have a positive attitude. Similarly, Susie's friends described her as fun and happy, with a tendency to be OCD at times, enough that her friends would poke fun of her for it. Stacy and Susie both grew up in Springfield and were pretty close when they were younger, but over the years they drifted into different friend groups. Susie hung out with the popular crowd at Kickapoo High School, and Stacy, who was a model at the time, hung out with what her family would say were the more goofy kids at school. Stacy had plans to go to college after high school, and Susie had plans to...
All right. So this guy has a really clean layout. He does his due diligence on going into the different cases and the different things surrounding the cases. He doesn't go quite as far as like some other YouTubers do sometimes, but in general, he does a really good job covering the case. What I really like is his sound quality. It's absolutely amazing. I know you can't hear it through all of this, but it's amazing. His little background tinkas and everything are absolutely on point. Every moment of the audio in this video is flawless, and it should be probably held on high in worship by various sound technicians, but I don't know enough about it for that. I just know I like the way it sounds. His visuals are what you'd expect from somebody who's been doing it a while. I think he's been going at it for I think it's 3 years now, so he's not exactly a spring chicken channel. It's toting around like 500,000K, something like that. I can't remember. Let's see. Or is it not going to show me? No, 115,000. But no, it's not going to show me. Tenacious D does have a song about Kickapoo. And maybe one day I'll get shit-faced and sing it. But it will be at night and not during the day. Because Sasquatch doesn't day drink. Like, ever. Hey, wait, I don't have one. I picked some oranges. I'm going to probably do a screwdriver video where I pick all my oranges and make a screwdriver just because, you know, I'm that sort of dork.
To become a hairdresser like her mother, Cheryl. Cheryl had recently started working at New Attitude Salon, which is still open today, and had already amassed around 250 clients in her short time there. She was extremely welcoming to other kids and would often take them in as if she was their second mother. On June 6th of 1992, there was a graduation party that both Stacy and Susie attended. They had just started hanging out again the last few weeks, and both of them, along with some other kids from the graduating class, planned on hanging out for a bit that night before driving about an hour south to a water park in Branson, Missouri, for one final day of fun together before they all parted ways. They were originally going to drive down that night, but plans ended up changing a little, and they decided to leave for the water park in the morning. Plans end up changing a few more times that night. First, they planned to stay at the party house until the morning. Then they decide to stay at a friend Janelle's house, but upon arriving to Janelle's, they decide that it's just a little too crowded there, and they're going to stay at Susie's place. Susie lived with her mom Cheryl, who had recently purchased a home. They leave Janelle's around 2 a.m., and that's the last time they're ever seen.
They said they were going to the other girl's house and they were going to be spending the night there, and they called me in the morning so we could go to Whitewater. And they never called me in the morning, so I called them, and I called and I got no answer. So I went over there and they weren't there.
When neither girls are heard from the next morning, multiple people call the house to see what's going on. When all of the calls go unanswered, a few different friend and family members show up at the house, including Janelle and Stacy's mom, Janice. All 3 cars are in the driveway, which initially gives them some relief, but it doesn't take long to notice that a few things are out of place. For one, Susie's car was...
I'm gonna have to hard pass on that one. Sasquatch couldn't carry a tune in a bucket if it had 3 handles. It's just not happening. It's not one. I will sing. It's not a pretty sight. I don't have any rhythm. I couldn't. I can't melody. I don't even know the words, man. I can't do none of that. If you hum a few bars, I can fake it for exactly a few bars. That's all I got.
Was not where it was normally parked. She always parked in the carport, but instead was parked in the circle drive. Knowing how OCD Susie tended to be, this was actually pretty surprising. As they walked up to the front porch, they noticed glass on the ground. The glass housing around the front porch light had been broken, but not the bulb. They cleaned up the porch before knocking on the door a few times. No answer, but the door was unlocked, so they let themselves in as they called out to the girls. As they walked inside, they noticed the TV was on, but the screen just showed static. Susie's dog Cinnamon darted out.
Hey, boo, if I do a jig, it'll be because I'm building something. And I need a jig. I'm sorry, dude. Dance is not in my repertoire either. I learned it'd probably be best if I don't finish that sentence. Here, watch this.
Out and seemed genuinely freaked out about something. All three of the girls' purses were lined up on the floor. They are getting a little worried, and Stacy's mom goes through the purses to see if she can get any clues as to where they might be. Two things catch her attention. There's around $900 worth of cash and checks in Cheryl's purse, as well as her cigarettes. Cheryl was known to be a heavy smoker, and it was extremely unlikely she would have left without her cigarettes. At this point, it might be easy for us to think, why didn't they call the cops? But remember, you're watching a true crime video on YouTube. Your mindset is already looking at everything through a lens of crime. For all they knew, the girls were out on a walk, or another person might have come and picked them up to go to Branson. Remember, there are no cell phones at this time, so oftentimes you wouldn't hear from someone for a while. Things are definitely off, but again, nothing seems too crazy. The house was relatively clean, and other than the front porch light,
there is one thing I do kind of well. If you're familiar with Dr. Hook, I think it's in the medicine show specifically. There's a few songs there that are well, they're weird and probably not YouTube approved, although you can find them on YouTube, which is an interesting juxtaposition of things. So I could like go and stream it straight off YouTube, but I can't play it on my live stream because it'll get me deuced out. Yeah, that's YouTube. Welcome to the show. I'll say, boy, that's the strangest thing. I'm trying to tell you, that's the strangest thing. Are you listening, boy? That's the strangest thing I ever did see.
There was no signs of any struggle. The friends and family at the house begin to tidy up a bit while they wait for the women to return home. Then the phone rings. Stacy's mom, hopeful that it's the girls
Gypsy?
calling
Good to see you. Good evening, good morning, and good night, or however that goes.
Lets it go to voicemail. But what she hears on the answering machine is a man saying some really sexually explicit things. She assumes it's a prank call, and the message ends up getting deleted. That night, June 7th, around 9 p.m., Stacy's mom calls the police to file a missing persons report. The police show up and take things pretty seriously. A thorough police report is written that includes things like one of the blinds on one of the windows overlooking the front porch was slightly slid up, as if someone was looking out the window through the blinds. Stacy's bra and shorts were folded up neatly, and the only things of hers that are missing were her panties and her shirt, leading police to believe that they had gotten home without issue and even got ready for bed. The report is filed as missing persons with foul play expected. Unfortunately, the crime scene was far from preserved, and when police arrived, multiple people had already been in and out of the house since the girls had disappeared. News of the three missing girls spreads around town quickly, and within days, 20,000 flyers are put up. This clip was played in the beginning, and you can hear pretty clearly the desperation in Stacy's mom's voice.
I'm Mrs. McCall, and this is my daughter.
Okay.
And they're missing, and we'd like to put posters in your windows, on your doors.
Okay.
I feel like I'm in a bad dream. I saw her graduate Saturday night. We were there, and now she's gone. We don't know where.
So how could three girls just disappear without a trace? What would the motive be? Could one person by themselves have accomplished this crime, or would there have had to have been multiple attackers? Before we dive into the theories surrounding what happened that night, I want to give you a better picture of Springfield, Missouri. Springfield is where my parents met and where my sister was born. I have family that live in Springfield, Branson, and Jefferson City, Missouri. Springfield is a unique place. It's a relatively small city situated at the foothills of the Ozark Mountains.
Children, I bring you a deep, dark story of loss and absolute sadness. And your response is Stacy's mom has got it going on. I'm proud of you. I mean, how rude, but I'm very proud of you. Much love. Yes.
Mountains, about an hour north of Branson, Missouri, and about 2 hours south of the capital of Missouri, Jefferson City. If you look up the most dangerous cities in America, you're going to see the usuals: Detroit, Oakland, New Orleans, but sitting at the 13th most dangerous city in America, right now, you'll see Springfield, Missouri. I spent the holidays in Jefferson City with family, and one of those days I spent filming in Springfield. That night, as my family sat around the table and played cards, I grabbed my computer to check out some of the drone footage that I had taken earlier that day. My cousin, who was sitting next to me, looked over at the computer and said, "Hey, I used to live in that house right there." I figured she would be helpful in giving me a better idea of what the town of Springfield is like. Tell me a little bit about like the circumstances surrounding you living there.
I moved to Missouri State, or Springfield, I guess, at 18. But it was kind of a sketchy area just because it was off a busy road, and I don't know. We just felt safe in that corner, I guess. We knew our two neighbors, but then if we'd go further down the road, it was definitely lots of people outside, definitely obvious drug activity. But that was all of Springfield. Every place I lived, there was just homeless people and drugs everywhere.
So it almost didn't feel unique to that specific area.
Not at all.
Interesting.
Not at all. There's other places that I lived. In the house right across the street, there would just be people laid out on the stoop all day, all night, every day. And I lived there for 1.5 years, just clearly on drugs. The house right next to mine, so it's my apartment right here. I have a video I can show you. The house just exploded. And I saw 2 people running out, and then 15 seconds later, the whole house exploded, and then it was on fire, burned to the ground. Had to talk to the fire chief, and he said they were trying to cook meth.
So, do y'all know any of the details surrounding why Springfield seemed to have like that vibe everywhere?
I think it's just the area. You know, there's a train station that goes through there. There's a bus stop.
Well, let's be honest. If you have a town that is identified so closely with the Simpsons, such as Springfield, it's going to get weird. And there's nothing you can do about that.
And it's, Route 66 that goes right through there. It's a huge hub. I mean, you probably saw north of Springfield all the truck stops. I mean, it's just a huge hub for all of these interconnecting roadways. And I think it's the first stop for a while.
Yeah, like a lot of factors adding up to make Springfield a really unique place for crime. There are countless theories surrounding the disappearance of Stacy, Susie, and Cheryl, ranging from a satanic worshiping ex-boyfriend to alien abduction. Here are the 5 most probable theories in my opinion. Some assert who is responsible, but not really how they did it, while others assert how it was done, but not necessarily who was responsible.
As a Black father, it means a lot for me to
When the police comb through the house, they discover some interesting things on Susie's
All right, ladies and
bookshelf.
gentlemen, before we get into the suspects, I want to know who did it. We have the boyfriend. We have random stranger. We have some local degenerate. And we have someone who actually knew her, like aunt, uncle, mother, father, brother, one of them people. Possibly one of the folks in the car that also ended up vanishing. Maybe not. Who knows? Okay, I'll have to go get ready for my Sunday stream in about an hour. Today's topic is a question. Should women hold positions of authority? I expect to make a few brains pop. All right. If not, why not? And otherwise, yes. Some of the most competent people I've ever met were women. And that goes for most jobs that I've done, best engineer I ever met was a woman. And that's not something you'd usually say, but as far as just free balling a design, give her a torch and let her roll. All right, so we got the brother, we got random stranger, we got somebody that knew her, family member or whatever. And that's the three most likely.
I couldn't find exactly what the items were, but they were related to satanic worship somehow. Digging deeper, the police discovered that she had recently dated a young man named Dusty, who was part of a group of Satanists. 3 of them had recently been charged with breaking into a mausoleum at Maple Park Cemetery and extracting gold fillings from a corpse. When Susie found out about the grave robbery, she broke up with Dusty. She had agreed to testify against them, and the trial was scheduled for just a few months after their disappearance. It was said that the group of boys believed that Susie was the reason that they were caught in the first place. When the police speak with 2 of the 3 young men, Dusty and Michael, they denied any involvement and even passed a polygraph test. The third, however, Joseph Rydell, refused a polygraph. But with 0 evidence linking them to the home, the police hit a dead end. A few days after the girls disappeared, a woman called into the police department claiming that she might have some important information for the police. While she was sitting on her porch about 2 miles from Susie and Cheryl's home, and on the morning of June 7th, she witnessed a woman who looked like Susie in an old green Dodge van driving down the road. She claimed the woman looked noticeably afraid and that she could hear a man yelling at her from the back
That's a
seat.
slide ride.
Evidently,
I like
police
that.
thought this tip had so much credibility that they purchased the same make and model van and parked it outside of the police department. They put a sign on it asking for people to call in tips if they had seen that van. Unfortunately, nothing ever came of this. Knowing that Springfield is a hub for people passing through, it's quite possible that the abductor did not live in the area, and upon kidnapping the girls, drove far away from the city of Springfield. Maybe this person lived out of their van and was long gone before the missing persons report was ever filed. But how could a complete stranger convince one of these women to open the door for them in the middle of the night? Well, one theory is that the abductor snatched the dog from the backyard and knocked on the door pretending to be a good Samaritan, returning a dog he found wandering outside of the home. Kathy
No. Hold on. That's all well and good. How do you stop 3 women from screaming so loud that it causes a rent in the space-time continuum? That's my question. I don't give a damn if those houses are a quarter mile away. You get 3 scream queens really going, you're going to have a hard time keeping a lid on it. Oh, my Lord. Yeah, no, absence of evidence isn't necessarily evidence of absence. Or something like that, yeah. You got real close, dude. I'm proud of you.
Baird is a freelance journalist in Springfield, Missouri, who has extensively covered the Springfield Three. Kathy received a tip that the 3 girls were buried under the Cox South Hospital parking garage. When the police wouldn't do anything about it, she took matters into her own hands and hired a ground-penetrating radar technician to come out and survey the lot. According to Kathy, she didn't tell him what they were looking for, just asked him to look for any anomalies. He discovered 3 anomalies that he claimed were consistent with readings that he would typically get when using the device to find grave sites. Even with this info, the police did not dig up the parking garage. The more I looked into this theory, however, the more skeptical I became of it. First off, the tip that Kathy received was from a psychic, and there was no other evidence pointing to the girls' bodies being located under the parking garage. Second, they only...
Even if it was a psychic, and I'm not saying I put any stock in any of this crap, all I'm saying is tips are tips and should be followed up. I don't care if Zeus himself stepped down from the heavens and was like, oh, by the way, he did it. I'd have to check it out. No, I'd have to check it out and get some therapeutic help. Stop doing mushrooms.
scanned a small portion of the parking garage. The anomalies could have been tools left behind during construction or even rocks with different density types. If they had scanned the entire parking garage, they would have likely found many more anomalies that could have been anything. Lastly, the parking garage was built a year after the girls disappeared. If the perpetrator had buried them shortly after their disappearance, they would have been dug up when the garage was being constructed. There's a short window of time during the construction period where he could have dumped the bodies, but that would have meant that he would have held the bodies for over a year and then transported them to the parking garage just before they poured the concrete. This just doesn't seem very likely to me. Even still, there's a petition online to demolish the parking garage and look for Stacy, Susie, and Cheryl. On December 13th, 2013, a post is made on a forum by a man who claims that he witnessed the murder of 3 girls at an abandoned camp near Lake Springfield. I went to this camp and a fence has been put up as well as numerous no trespassing signs. Here's what that post said. I was 15 at the time this happened. I was visiting a family member who lived off Blakely at the time. I snuck out that night with a friend up the street named Chuck, who came up with the idea that we go to Anoka so he could show me it was haunted. The chain of events that occurred around 4 in the morning have haunted me ever since. Chuck killed himself because of it before I came back the following summer. We were deep in those woods looking at what looked like an old campground. We were out there walking way the hell in the woods when a van came out of nowhere. We hid quickly. 3 men got out along with 3 women. These women were scared, shirtless, and begging to these guys. We were about 50 or 60 yards away. Visibility was shady and all you could see were the shadows from the headlights of the movement. But I've never forgotten the voices because it sounded like they were right beside us. One was killed pretty quick. From the noises, I think her throat was slit. You could hear her gasping. The other 2 screamed madly, were beaten and raped. Silence followed. We laid in those bushes for 4 hours. Whoever the F that was in that van did not leave until nearly daylight. Lucky for us, because if they would have waited longer to leave, the daylight would have exposed us and we would have been seen. We couldn't move sooner because of the branches and the sounds of us walking on leaves. Whoever those women were, I have no clue. The bodies were loaded in the van when they left. I think the 2 were still alive, just knocked out. The way the man threw the other body in the van with such force, and hearing it slam against the wall, that one had to be dead for sure.
Well, that's about the most disturbing story I've heard today. Wow. Yeah, no, I'm not sure how long I'd be able to sit on that one. It might be for a few minutes, though, because especially if those guys were local at the time, yeah, I might have to figure out who they were. Just if for no other reason than just to stay the fuck away from them. They're clearly killers, so yeah, we avoid those people when possible and prepare to not avoid them when impossible.
I'm 36 now, and that night effed me up most of my life. I can still hear all of that and visualize what I saw that night. I drank my entire 20s away because of it. It wasn't until I turned 30 that I learned to handle it. Some people believe that this post is pretty credible, but there's definitely a few things that make me question this post. First, as we know, it's just not uncommon for people to make stuff up on the internet. Second, why would they take the women to Camp Winoka? It was known as a creepy place that kids would come explore in the middle of the night. There are plenty of places you could take these women that would be far less likely to have
That's
anyone
true.
else
I
there.
do want the van.
Lastly, and I haven't seen
beautiful.
anyone else point this out, but it was posted on December 13th, 2013. And when I looked it up, that day was on a Friday the 13th. It seems a lot more likely that a couple kids made up this post for fun on a Friday the 13th. Even so, I took some time to search the area a little bit with the drone in hopes that there was some tiny chance I could capture a clue, but nothing came of it.
Ads in 2 minutes, y'all. And it's the sound that I have an issue with. Yay.
In December of 1978, Army Ranger Robert Craig Cox was in Florida visiting with his parents.
He did it.
On the night of December 30th, he walked into their hotel room badly bloodied and with a portion of his tongue bitten off. He claims he got in a fight outside of a bowling alley, and his mom rushes him to the hospital. That same night, 19-year-old Sharon Zellers went missing. Her body was found a few days later in an orange grove adjacent to the same hotel that Cox was staying at. Cox was a suspect, but without sufficient evidence, the police could not make an arrest. Years later, in 1986, Cox pleaded guilty to a case of kidnapping and assault with a deadly weapon in California. He was dishonorably discharged from the Army and sentenced to 9 years in prison. This prompted the police to take another look at Cox for the murder of Sharon Zellers, and he was actually convicted in 1988 for that murder. But through a process of repeals, his attorneys were able to get that charge reversed, and Cox was sent back to California to finish his sentence there. So why is he being brought up as a suspect for the disappearance of Susie, Stacy, and Cheryl? Well, by the time the girls went missing in 1992, Cox had been released early on parole, and he lived in Springfield. He even worked at the same car dealership as Stacy's father. The police bring him in for questioning, but he maintains his innocence, and his girlfriend even gives him an alibi, saying they were at church the night the girls disappeared. The police don't have any other evidence to hold him, and without a confession, there's just nothing that they can do. However, a few years later, when he is arrested and convicted for aggravated assault in Texas, his girlfriend recants her alibi for that night in Springfield, saying that she wasn't with him when the 3 girls went missing. A reporter goes down to Texas and interviews Cox in prison. When he's asked about the Springfield 3, this is what Cox says.
I know that they're dead. I'll say that. I know that.
That's not a theory.
Yeah, but I know that I just know that they're dead. That's not my theory, I just know that.
He says that he won't give any more details until his mother passes away, and I haven't been able to find if his mother is still living or not, but Cox remains in jail to this day and hasn't spoken any further on the matter. Many people think Cox is just hungry for attention and that he didn't really have anything to do with this crime, and that could be true. When I was researching for this case, it seemed highly unlikely that I was going to be able to bring anything new to the table, but I think I might have found something that I haven't seen before. I was having a hard time finding visuals for the Robert Cox section of this video and had the idea to look up newspaper clippings. As I was searching, I came across this. At the age of 17, Robert Cox was convicted of second-degree burglary, but more importantly, this clipping lists an address. Depending on traffic, this house is about 5 to 8 minutes from Cheryl and Susie's house, less than 3 miles driving distance. The Cox family does not live at the address anymore, but according to this clipping, they still did back in '92.
I mean, I'm just an old country boy, and I don't know a whole bunch about the world outside my little swamp, but isn't it 3 miles regardless of whether you're driving, flying, or walking? Wouldn't it still be 3 miles regardless? Either way. However you get there. Very weird statement.
I put in directions from Janelle's house to Cheryl and Susie's house. The last trip the girls took the night they went missing. And Robert Cox's house is less than half a mile from their route. Could Cox have been at McDaniel Park when the girls passed that night and he followed them home? This is all circumstantial and doesn't prove anything, but at the very least, it's pretty interesting. It's been 30 years since Stacy, Susie, and Cheryl have disappeared, but the online forums, the Facebook groups, and the web sleuths are still working hard to try and solve this case.
Have they asked Reddit?
It seems as if whoever's responsible has either died or is determined to take this secret to their grave. Researching for the case was an interesting experience for me. It was different than the Murdaugh case. I've had some connections to Springfield, but not like I do Beaufort, and as I was doing my initial research, I felt relatively detached from it all. I honestly didn't even recognize it until I spent the day filming in Springfield. Seeing the house the girls were taken from, the high school that they went to, the memorial bench that was set up for them, it all made this case so real to me, and as I was reflecting on my experience with this case, I realized what I wanted for you, the viewer. I don't want you to feel like I did when I began to research for this case, kind of disconnected from the humanity of it all. Stacy, Susie, and Cheryl were just normal people like you and like me that had to experience some absolutely horrific things. While I felt somewhat disconnected in the beginning, I finished feeling genuine sorrow for the loss of my fellow humans. I think that one of the reasons we are fascinated with true crime is because it's a window into the darkest parts of humanity. It's not as simple as entertainment. It's an analysis of what
it's because it's Halloween.
is.
All right, so that was, what's his name? Oh, Korsk. It's like Eric Valen or something like that. Eric Allen, Eric Allen. That's it. Eric Allen videos. And he actually went to the site, did his own like drone footage and whatnot. So I mean, I didn't see that coming. But okay, if you're going to be doing I screwed the picture on that. I'm sorry. If you're going to be doing this type of stuff, the willingness to go out and make your own drone footage and to go visit the locations, that's pretty hardcore. I have something in my eye and I don't appreciate it very much. I'm not a fan. It's not fun. God, it sucks too. Right, we're going to drop him out. We're going to go over here. Now, this is a weird one. Because every time I try to do this, I get some weirdness. Yeah. All right, it didn't do the weirdness that time. It worked. At least I think it worked. Did that work? Yeah, that worked. Kill. We now replace the pinned message. This is the right one. That's the right one. All right. Ignore the crazy eye. Let her get to the point before you judge. I know she look a little wild. It's like she might bite. Might be a professional Karen and wants to talk to your manager. But let's see what she has to say. Don't judge.
In late 2002, a man put $800 in the stock market. With various trades, he ended up turning his $800 into millions of dollars in a short amount of time. After suspicions grew, he was subsequently interrogated and arrested for insider trading. But the story does not end there. He claimed that he acquired the information not from insider trading, but because he was a time traveler. And he claimed he could prove it. Hi, I'm Mindy. Welcome to the Missing Link channel. Each urban legend and unsolved mystery is just one missing link away from being solved. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a video and help us find that missing link. Now, before you think I'm nuts for covering this story, I just have to give you some backstory. Lately, I have covered some depressing, sad, and confusing cases over the past few months. I came across this story and thought it would definitely be interesting to look into, just to see if it is based in any fact or if it is just an urban legend. The cases I am working on for February include a possible alien abduction, the murder of John Benet Ramsey from a different perspective, and the disappearance of Maura Murray. So most of us have probably seen the movie Back to the Future 2, when old man Biff travels back to the past to 1955 and gives his younger self the sports almanac so he can bet on any sports game in the future, know the winner, and earn a ton of cash. That movie was made in 1989, years before this story took place. I am sure many of you and me would love for our future self to show up and give us the winning lottery numbers or tell us the future winners of the World Series or Super Bowl so we could make a small fortune. Let's look into this story and go back to the beginning, back to December 2002. A man named Andrew Carlson, who was 44 years old and had no previous experience in the United States stock market, took $800 and began investing. Over the next 2 weeks, he traded stocks 126 times in the very risky commercial markets and ended up turning the $800 into $350 million. Yes, you heard me right. 35 with 7 zeros. $350 million. That is definitely a small fortune. Okay, who am I kidding? That is a huge fortune. Other investors grew very suspicious as Andrew kept making trades, making no mistakes, and continuing to earn millions of dollars off his investments. In fact, no trade or investment Andrew made turned into a loss. Instead,
theory. My man had a backdoor gap to the Pelosi investments portfolio. He would achieve exactly the same record. That's all it would take. That's all I'm saying.
instead, each ended up gaining value and earning money. A lot of money. This was definitely not beginner's luck. The market at that time was described as volatile, and his earnings were described as impossible and very suspicious. The FBI and the SEC, or Securities and Exchange Commission, became involved. They believed that he must be
If his investments paying out as suspicious, how's Paul Pelosi's going currently? What's that run up to, man? Oh my Lord, out loud and stuff.
involved in some illegal insider trading. On January 28, 2003, 1 month after he started investing, Andrew was taken to the police station to be interrogated. Andrew was described as calm during the 4-hour-long interrogation. The authorities couldn't figure out where he received the privileged information to be able to make these investments or trades correctly and to gain so much money. Andrew told one story, and he stuck with it during the entire interrogation, and he did not waver in his claim. He told authorities that the reason he was able to make the right trades and investments was because he was from the future. He claimed to be a time traveler from 2256, which was 254 years in the future at that time. Andrew claimed he knew which stocks would rise during this time period, and that is why all his investments made such monumental gains. He seemed to know that certain companies would merge, which would lead their stock to increase in value. And he also seemed to know about technological developments in certain other companies that would also lead to their stocks increasing. This would be too much of a coincidence for him to just make random trades, not having some other insider or futuristic knowledge. He told the authorities that originally he planned to make it look more natural or real, spread it out over a greater period of time, make sure he had losses instead of only gains. But he got caught up in the moment and instead made such great profit in only 2 weeks with no losses at all. He explained that he traveled in time in what he described as a time craft. He wanted to get back to his time craft and go back to 2256. However, he would never explain what the craft looked like, how it worked, or where it was located currently. He was afraid that the time craft would end up in the wrong hands, or if someone found out how it worked, that they would try to duplicate the craft. The authorities believed he was either mentally disturbed or he was a pathological liar. The following month, on February 25th, 2003, Andrew was arrested for insider trading. Before his trial, Andrew tried to cut a deal with the authorities. He claimed he had information they would benefit from, information they couldn't turn down. He made numerous predictions why he was in jail that ended up coming true. He told authorities that he knew about future medical advances, such as how to cure AIDS. In 2003, AIDS was a huge global epidemic. In 2003 alone, 5 million people were infected and 3 million died from this awful disease. To this day, there is still no cure for AIDS. However, there is treatment that stops a person with HIV from developing full-blown AIDS by stopping the progression of the virus. Andrew
All right, I gotta agree with you on this. She has a very disturbing 1,000-yard stare, as if she's been staring in this camera for 8 hours and has another 6 to go and knows it. I'm not sure I want that on my screen, but here we go. That's just disturbing.
Also made other predictions, including stating that the stock market would crash in 2008. And that is exactly what happened. On September 29th, 2008, the Dow Jones experienced the largest single-day loss in its history up to that point. Andrew also told authorities that the U.S. would invade Iraq, and he knew the exact day, which was March 19th of that same year. He also told them the outcome of the war. He also explained that he knew the exact whereabouts of Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden was the mastermind behind the attacks on September 11th.
The fuck are you, Wikipedia?
His whereabouts were unknown at that time. Bin Laden wasn't killed until 8 years later, in 2011. Andrew was jailed for 2 months awaiting trial. Someone described as an unidentified benefactor bailed him out of jail. This person produced $1 million, and Andrew was released awaiting trial. Andrew was supposed to meet with his attorney on April 2nd, 2003. He didn't show up to the meeting. In fact, he disappeared, never to be seen again. He just seemed to vanish off the face of the earth.
Handy that.
During 2003, tabloids were an extremely popular form of news. They weren't based on any fact, but they were more for entertainment. They had a lot of articles on celebrities, aliens, paranormal stories, and supernatural experiences. The newspaper, or tabloid, called Weekly World News, placed an article on their front page stating Andrew's story.
Yay. That's evidence right there, man. I'm fucking sold.
This tabloid existed from 1979 to 2007. The writer of the article claimed that he had spoken to Andrew, that Andrew was in Canada working on a new project. Andrew was quoted as saying, "Time is everything, and everything happens as per the time. I am nowhere, so this is my time." I have no response to that quote. I
do. I got one. All right. So here's the thing, right? So the CIA needed a chunk of change. They threw this guy out there and it's like, here, just do it, right? And then when they're done and they got the money they need, they pull him out and say, oh, he was a time traveler. Fucking do with that what you want. Good luck. Hope it works out for you.
I am not even going to try to figure out what that means. Once this story was published in the tabloid, other news outlets, including Yahoo, published the story, but forgot to mention that it came from a tabloid. The story just keeps getting stranger. Apparently, there were no records of anyone named Andrew Carlson who fit his description ever existing before December 2002. No birth certificate, no driver's license, or anything else. So, let's look into this story.
Sounds like a CIA out to me.
Let's pretend for a second that it is based on fact. I have a few issues I want to discuss. First, so if this man didn't exist,
wait a second.
Who was he? Perhaps he...
This lady has a really strong chin. And now that I've noticed, I can't unsee it.
used a fake identity. But how did the FBI not figure this out while he was in jail for 2 months? Second, who was the very wealthy benefactor that put up $1 million bail money? Obviously, this person was very wealthy if they didn't mind losing $1 million. because the plan was definitely to escape and not return. So he or she would never get their money back.
You're not
Third,
wrong.
why did he choose the stock market?
She is trying real hard.
Wouldn't it have been easier to just pick the winning lottery numbers for a huge jackpot? There would be so much less suspicion and less likelihood of getting caught by choosing a different way to make fast money, if he truly was a time traveler. Fourth, in today's time, you have to give your social security number to invest in the stock market. This is part of the Patriot Act to keep track of who is investing. And of course, to make sure that any losses or any gains are reported to the IRS and the correct taxes are paid. Fifth, 254 years in the future, do they still have a written or virtual description of what stocks did on a daily basis in 2002? How would he know what stocks to buy if he came from the year 2256? Sixth, how did Andrew acquire so much knowledge about so many companies' inside information? How did he know companies would merge and that technology would advance and help certain companies and then their stocks would rise? Seventh, if he was a time traveler, I am surprised by his appearance.
He looks weird.
Coming from over 250 years in the future, he looked older than 44 years old in his photo, and he had hair loss. His hairline was definitely receding. I sure hope with all the technological advances in the next 254 years, they would figure out how to have a more youthful appearance and figure out how individuals will no longer lose their hair. I'm going to be honest. I don't know much about time travel. However, two of the greatest physicists, Einstein and Hawking, believe that time travel is possible.
I believe you.
Einstein's theory of relativity brought about the idea of time travel. The theory explains that time passes at different rates for different people, and the people are moving relative to one another.
Oh my God. Ow. Oh my God. That woman just hurt my head. That people are traveling at different rates relative to one another. It's not how that works. But okay, spooky action in physics. Here we go. All right, yeah, we're going to continue this because this is the most terrifying thing I've heard in a while.
Some people even believe black holes in space can be used for time travel. So, do you think this story actually happened? Or was it just made up? A made-up story to sell a tabloid newspaper? And then it just became an urban legend after it was published by some reputable news sources? Or do you think it is based on some fact? Was Andrew a time traveler?
All right, children. So what do we think? Was Andrew a time traveler or a government spook? What do you think? When government spooks get involved, it's always spooky. That's definitely scary. Definitely a scary story. What was this one? Go away. Oh yeah. What's the full name of the channel? I can't ever find it. They got away with murder. That's it. Right. He's an author and does a bunch of different stuff involving like the whole true crime genre. Specifically into the people who got away. Basically. Now this is a long one. Should Should we do an intermission first? We're right at the hour mark. Don't start that mess. What are you doing? Quit it. That's absolutely nightmarish. Every now and then my computer just duplicates all the windows for like a split second and then they go back together. And sometimes it doesn't go back together and crashes. Technical issues. What can you do? She break into a smile for point. Yeah, it would have shattered her face, right? All right. I went and picked out a sort of random one, but it is one that is it's fairly complete, which is why it's so long. Although it's a fairly old one. It's about an hour long itself. Now, I'm not going to promise you I'm going to sit here and watch the whole thing, but we'll go through like the first 10 minutes and then the last 10 minutes and see where we land. I don't know if it sounds good enough and goes along with people seem to dig it. We'll just roll with it. But the next one is the one I'm really wanting to get to. I'm excited about it. I hadn't seen it yet. Got that going on. We got that happening. Oh my God, it's doing it again. Stop it. Yes, you can use extreme gravity to bend time and space. It's a dimension move forward in time towards the farther future. It's the same as hiding in a really good hiding spot. Yeah, spooky action at a distance refers to quantum entanglement. The idea that you can join two subatomic quanta into a sympathetic reaction, which in theory would allow you to communicate across vast distances instantaneously, rendering the speed of light a non-issue, and might possibly allow the invention of a teleporter if enough of them were gathered. But then you have the teleporter paradox. Is the person that steps out of the teleporter actually you? Did they just kill you and create a new you over there? I mean, your individual components aren't you, and for some measurable amount of time, you are not extant. And then you are. Is this the same you that stepped in, or is it just a copy that thinks it's the same you? I don't know. It's creepy. I don't like it.
I have a couple of things I'd like to say before I introduce the next video. The first of these is to thank those people who bought me a coffee. I've been astounded by how many people have actually gone to the trouble of buying me one, and it's helped defray some of the expenses of tea in the land for a determination in the matter.
I forgot. There's like a full ad for his book at the beginning of this one. There's like 2 or 3 of them right here when it came out. He did like this full,
as I usually do,
ad and put it in a bunch of his videos.
And here it is.
Any second.
And I'll be very interested to hear your views. At 5:45 on the morning of the 10th of December 1934, 21-year-old farm labourer Reginald Woolmington was at work at Ivy House Farm at Oborne near Sherborne in Dorset. He was working as usual with his employer, farmer Albert Cheeseman, and at about 7:45 a.m., their immediate duties done, the two men paused for breakfast. Woolmington collected a double-barreled shotgun from the barn, returned to his parents' neighbouring hillside farm, where he had his breakfast, and as soon as he had finished, he told his mother he intended to cycle over to nearby Milburn Port to see his estranged wife, Violet. Before doing so, he placed the gun in a vise, took a fret saw, and sawed the gun barrels off. He then loaded the gun with 2 cartridges, and fixing a piece of wire to the shotgun, he strapped it to his shoulder and put on his overcoat, which he buttoned up. He then cycled over to Milburn Port, some 2 miles away, arriving at number 24 Newtown, where his estranged wife lived with her mother. Next door, at number 25 Newtown, Mrs. Daisy Brine, who was his wife's aunt, was in her backyard attending to some domestic duties. She heard raised voices and Reg Wilmington say,
Argument could be made that bone and nervous tissue is you, since that's the parts that's still there. I mean, I don't know.
Are you coming back or not? She then heard a door slam and the terrific report of a gunshot. She rushed into her own house and looked through the window. She saw Reginald Wilmington leaving the house, mount his bicycle, and ride off. She immediately went next door, and there in the small 10-foot by 10-foot sitting room, she found her niece, Violet, dead on the floor. She had been shot in the chest. Violet's baby son was beside her in his pram, unharmed. The alarm was raised, and a Dr. Robert Knight of Milburn Port arrived at number 24 Newtown, where he pronounced Violet Wilmington dead. A police constable, Tolley, was also quickly upon the scene, and he was informed by the neighbour, Daisy Brine, of the events of the morning, and what she knew of the matter, whereupon he set off for Hillside Farm. Here he found Reginald Wilmington and arrested him, collecting the sawn-off shotgun from the shed to the rear of the house. When he informed Wilmington that he would likely be charged with the murder of his wife, Wilmington said, "Is she dead?" He was then taken to Wincanton Police Station, where he was formally charged and made a statement to Detective Sergeant Weymouth of Yeovil CID at 7:30 that evening. He said, "I want to say nothing, except that I done it, and they can do what they like with me. It was jealousy, I suppose. Her mother enticed her away from me. I done all I could to get her back." The following day, Reginald Wilmington appeared before magistrates, where he was further remanded to appear at the Somerset Assizes
demands,
to answer a charge of murder.
merely requests.
Reginald Wilmington was born on the 2nd of June 1913 at Milburn Port, Somerset, to James Samuel Wilmington and Maria Light. His parents were small-holding dairy farmers, and Reginald attended school at nearby Trent, leaving at the age of 14. He was a tall, well-built young man, and not at all work-shy. He worked as an errand boy at Yeovil for a time, and at numerous farms, often travelling during the season, seeking farm work in different places, as farm work patterns and seasons demanded. All those who employed him described him as quiet and hard-working, and no one appeared to have any cause of complaint against him. He was a member of the Yeovil Boxing Club, and at the age of 18 he joined the Territorial Army. There was no fault to find with Reginald Wilmington. When he was 18, he also began walking out with a 15-year-old girl from nearby Milburn Port, Violet Smith. Violet was from a large family. Her father had died some years before, leaving her mother widowed and having to struggle to make ends meet. When she left school, she worked from home, making gloves. She did rather well at this, according to her mother, and earned 30 shillings in a good week. Her mother had no objection to her young daughter walking out with Reginald Wilmington, and he was a regular visitor to her house. The only possible difficulty, it seems, was that Reginald was of a somewhat possessive disposition. He had a jealous nature where Violet was concerned, and was quick to suspect her of being attracted to other men. There is nothing we know to suggest that Violet was of a particularly flirtatious nature, but Reg's jealousy was the only blot on their relationship. Their intimacy increased over the course.
I don't believe I mentioned anything at all about God. I don't think so.
Of the next 2 years, and in early 1934, Violet became pregnant. Mrs. Smith was not best pleased by what she saw as a breach of trust on the part of her daughter's boyfriend, but there was only one thing for it: the couple must marry. Reg worked for much of the spring and summer of 1934 in Jersey, where he earned good money, and when he returned in August, he and Violet were duly married. For the first 6 weeks of married life, they lived with Reg's parents at Hillside Farm, and were quite happy, according to accounts. Reginald began working for a neighbouring farmer, Albert Cheeseman, receiving wages of 33 shillings a week. Of this, he gave 31 shillings to Violet and kept 2 shillings for himself. He also negotiated a tied cottage on the farm, and it being a dairy farm, they received free milk. On the 14th of October 1934, Violet gave birth to a baby boy. Her mother, as might be expected, spent a great deal of time with her daughter during and after her confinement, while Reg worked long hours on the farm. Violet recovered from her labour quickly, and was keen to get out and about, but Reg seems to have objected to this. He later claimed that he was mindful of her welfare, and thought her not well enough to go out. True or not, this was a source of ongoing friction between the couple. There were arguments, and it was claimed by Violet's mother that Reg hit his wife occasionally. Things came to a head on the 11th of November, which was Armistice Day, a major event in much of Britain so soon after the First World War. The pubs were open long into the night, and the whole community was involved. Most families had lost a son, a brother, or a father, or someone close, and wished to mark the occasion. Violet naturally wished to take part in this, but Reg refused to allow it. Subsequently, Mrs. Smith would claim that he locked her daughter in the house and refused to allow her to leave. It was even suggested he had gone to the pub himself that day, something he denied as he said he was a teetotaler. Whatever truth there was in such stories, there is no doubt that the relationship had soured. Violet was unhappy, and the quarrels between the couple had worsened. On the 22nd of November, her mother visited their cottage and found her daughter crying. Violet complained she could not leave the house or even go for a walk with the baby without arousing her husband's
Hillbillies ain't nothing to joke about, bud.
On the 29th of November, Mrs. Smith visited her daughter and suggested, in Reg's presence, that she and the baby come home with her. There were words. Reg told his mother-in-law to leave. She didn't. There was something of an impasse. Eventually, Reg had to go out to attend to his farm duties, and when he returned that evening, he found a note from his wife informing him that she had left him. The following day, Reg visited his wife at her mother's home to persuade her to return, but she informed him she would not, and that she was planning to go into domestic service. He visited her again on the 1st of December, along with his employer, Albert Cheeseman, who offered further inducements for her to return. Still she refused. A well-meaning local lay preacher was induced to write to Violet with the purpose of trying to persuade her to return to her husband. Violet would not be moved. She had determined to enter domestic service after Christmas, leaving their son with her mother. Some days went by, and Reg heard that Violet had been seen at the cinema with a man he knew. He had taken this up with the man, and it was after this he resolved on a new plan, which led to Violet's death on the 10th of December 1934 and his own arrest for her murder. Apart from the circumstances leading up to the events of the 10th of December, police discovered the sawn-off barrel.
Well, here's my concern in VTV. Hypothetically, let's say we develop teleportation and it works without a hitch. You teleport folks all over the world. This is going on for months, years, decades, centuries. It doesn't matter. Then we encounter an alien species who developed teleporter technology thousands of years ago, and it's like, oh, well, we can just reroute their teleportation, put back copies, and nobody will ever be the wiser. And they do, and suddenly we're run by, intergalactic alien people, reptilians from the planet Zerbagu. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'd rather just be me and walk over there, man. I don't have an issue with a little bit of walking. Me, Pitt, and Pat gotten along real good throughout my life, and they've taken real good care of me. Yeah, man. Do the thing with the thinginess,
barrels of the gun and a fret saw in a brook on Hillside Farm. They also discovered a note in Reg Woolmington's overcoat pocket. It read, "Goodbye all. It is agonies to carry on any longer. I have kept true, hoping she would return. It is the only way out. They have ruined me, and I'll have my revenge. May God forgive me for having done this, but it is the best thing. Her mother is no good on this earth, but I have no more cartridges. One for me and one for her. I am of sound mind now. Forgive me for the trouble caused. I love Violet with all my heart." Woolmington himself, beyond his initial statement admitting to the murder, would not be drawn on the matter. Police took witness statements from all those involved, and after
Good
committal
morning,
hearings,
John.
the matter
Good
came
to
to
see
trial
you,
at Somerset
bud.
Assizes the following month. The trial of Reginald Woolmington was heard by Mr. Justice Finlay at Taunton and lasted for just one day,
Hey
the
now.
24th of January,
Hey.
1935.
That's a pretty savvy take on the concept. That's the first time I've ever heard anyone pitch that one. That if your soul is immortal and your body is recreated and your soul is then in your body because that's where it belongs, that's an interesting concept. I got to give you that one. I'll have to consider that for a while, because if the soul has no mass, no weight, and does exist, then our entire concept of physics is fucking broken. There's issues all over that one.
Mr. J.G. Trapnell, K.C., appeared for the Crown, and J.D. Caswell appeared for the defence. Reg Woolmington pleaded not guilty to murder. Trapnell opened for the prosecution, stating the facts of the case, and detailed events leading up to the shooting on the morning of the 10th of December. It was the contention of the Crown that Violet had been threatened by her husband, the defendant. She had been afraid of him. He had said he would strangle her if she left him and returned to her mother's home. In his absence on the 29th of November, Violet had done so. Woolmington had subsequently taken a shotgun from the barn of the farm where he worked and had sawn off the barrels, loading the gun with 2 cartridges, and concealing this under his overcoat, had cycled to number 24 Newtown, 2 miles away, where Mrs. Smith lived, and where Violet was now living with their infant son. Their neighbour at number 25, Daisy Brine, who was Mrs. Smith's sister and Violet's aunt, had heard voices and caught the phrase, "Are you coming back to me or not?" She then heard a door slam and the report of a gun. She saw Woolmington cycling away, and entering number 24, found her niece lying on the floor dead. It was the Crown case that Reginald Woolmington had shot his wife because she had left him and refused to return to him. He sawed the barrels off for the purposes of concealment. It was a great deal of effort to go to perpetrate a
I'll
bluff.
try that again. But
How did he
what just
intend to
happened?
explain to his employer that he had destroyed his gun?
This is the part where we skip to the end.
Of course, such an explanation would be redundant if his act had a greater measure of finality to it. He loaded the gun with 2 cartridges. Why was it necessary to load the gun at all, if bluff was his intention? Does that not suggest his intention was to shoot someone, or more than one person? We know he exchanged words with his wife, and that he asked where her mother was. This may or may not have shown some intention towards threatening his mother-in-law, whom he blamed for his wife's leaving him. But we know, because he and the next-door neighbour Daisy Brine agreed on this, that he asked Violet, "Are you coming back to me or not?" That demand has a necessary finality to it. It seems to be the prelude to a threat against someone rather than against himself. After shooting his wife, Woolmington left the house and rode off on his bicycle. He made no attempt to seek help. Surely if it had been a terrible accident, that is what he would have done. There was no attempt to seek medical attention for his wife. He fled. He spoke to his mother and to Albert Cheeseman soon after the killing, To both he said he had killed his wife. To neither of them did he say it was an accident. Surely he would have said, "Something terrible has happened. I shot Violet. The gun went off. It was an accident." When told by Reg that he had shot his wife, Cheeseman even asked him, "Good God, why did you do that?" But Wilmington did not reply. He wrote a note which was subsequently found in his pocket. It is clear this was written after the killing, and Wilmington confirmed that this was so in evidence. In this note he makes no mention of an accident, which again he surely would have if it was an accident. But he does mention a motive for having shot his wife: revenge. "They have ruined me," he wrote, "and I'll have my revenge." He also wrote, "May God forgive me for having done this, but it is the best thing. Her mother is no good on this earth, but I have no more cartridges, one for me and one for her." The intention is plainly stated in retrospect here, that he intended to shoot her and intends to shoot himself. When charged at the police station at 7:30 that evening, he said he had done it from jealousy. Again, there was no indication of its being accidental. In these 4 interactions in the aftermath of the shooting, which reveal his thoughts, he is consistent. It was his intention to kill his wife, and probably himself. He would have killed his mother-in-law, but he did not have another cartridge. And he did it out of jealousy and revenge. Taking all of these in sum, it is difficult to argue with Justice Swift's persuasion, at a human level at least, that the evidence of murder was so strong that the claim that it was an accident is in want of substantiation. But law professors, as law lords, in their anxiety to preserve the most sacred of principles, are as susceptible as medieval theologians to wondering how many angels may dance on the head of a pin. The fact that they did saved Reginald Wilmington's life. It is not difficult to have a sense of what happened on the 10th of December 1934. Reginald Wilmington, a man predisposed to jealousy of his wife Violet, was becoming dangerously unhinged in the matter. Jealousy can do this. What their relationship was, and whether jealousy had become constitutional in their relationship, we do not know. We do know that he would not allow her to go out, that he feared she was interested in other men, that there were many rows between the couple on this account. It seems likely he had threatened her with violence, and possibly that he may have used violence. Although not proven, given the other circumstances, it would
Looking at this picture, I'm assuming violence had already been done unto her.
seem likely. In spite of all, or because of it, she left him. She returned to her mother's home, and she took their child with her. He went to see her. He said he would change, would behave differently if she would return to him. But she wouldn't. It seems Violet had made up her mind. She refused. The following day, Wilmington went to see her again, along with his employer, Albert Cheeseman, who generously offered her inducements if she would return to Reg. She wouldn't. Reg was obsessing about Violet. A lay preacher was persuaded to write to Violet, to ask her to return to Reg. Nothing worked. It seems Violet's mind was quite decided on the matter. Then the worst thing possible happened from the point of view of a jealous lover. Reg had word that Violet had gone to the cinema with a man. He had words with this man. We do not know what form these words took. In any case, it must be presumed that he wished to dissuade him from doing so on any further occasion. The effect of this incident, though, to Reg's jealous mind was catastrophic. It confirmed all his fears concerning the cowman whom he had previously accused her of making a play for, concerning his general observation that she was after the men. All of the statements and suspicions were given confirmation by this single apparent proof. Just 10 days after she had left him, she was out with another man. It may have been innocent, we do not know. It doesn't matter from Reg Wilmington's point of view. It was proof, a proof of what he knew. His mind would dwell on little else in those few days remaining in Violet's life. Things were hurtling towards a final, conclusive act. Violet did not know it. She had reached a new determination in her life, and it did not include Reg Wilmington. Whatever thoughts were on Reg's mind, they did not countenance defeat. He would have Violet back, or there would be a reckoning. What that reckoning was intended to be, we cannot know for certain, but it clearly involved threatening Violet. It makes no sense that he should visit a woman who no longer cared for him and proceed to threaten to kill himself if she will not do what he wishes her to do, but she does not. It is logically and intuitively absurd. The way to make someone do something they do not wish to do is not to threaten oneself, but to threaten them. This he did. It is the way their relationship seems to have worked previously. He told her she could not leave the house, take the baby for a walk, or visit her mother, and if she persisted, he threatened her with violence. If we are to believe his mother-in-law, he used violence against her when she breached his injunctions. So the paradigm for his actions on the 10th of December are established. He will visit her and threaten her with violence if she will not return to him. This will require, of course, the ultimate threat of violence, death. Reg Wilmington may have hoped his threat to shoot her, and the production of a sawn-off shotgun as a proof of his intention would be sufficiently terrifying and dramatic to persuade her to submit to him. She would return home to him, along with their baby, but he must also have considered what action he would take if she refused him, and that is why he loaded the gun and placed 2 cartridges in the barrels. As he later said in the note found in his overcoat pocket, one for him and one for her. He was past mere bluff. He had bluffed before. He had threatened to strangle her. They were both beyond bluff now. Reginald Wilmington was filled with a rageful anxiety on the morning of the 10th of December, 1934. He had lain awake imagining the worst. Violet with the cowman. Violet with the man at the cinema. A jealous lover always exaggerates the attractiveness of their lover. In his imagination, all men wanted her, and she wanted all men. 6 weeks after the birth of her first child, it is unlikely either was true. But Reginald Wilmington was dealing in the monstrous possibility of shadows, not probabilities. He rode over to the house and asked Violet to return. What other conversation there was not heard, but it reached the point of no return when he inquired of her, "Are you coming back to me or not?" Her answer was, of course, no. He had expected this. A door was heard by Daisy Brine next door to slam. Probably Violet attempted to leave the room, to end the conversation and all connection with her furious husband. He interceded, slammed the door shut. She was going nowhere. He was not yet done. Now was the moment. Reg said he unbuttoned his overcoat and raised the gun from his waist. He was not looking at her when it went off, he said. But that cannot be true. The post-mortem report said the shot had been fired in a downwards direction. Wilmington was a tall man. The gun must have been held at shoulder height when it was fired. The gun was fired at her heart. If it went off accidentally while being raised from the waist, the initial discharged shot could have gone almost anywhere. His own leg, or foot, her foot, or arm, or stomach, the ceiling, but it didn't. It went exactly where Reg would shoot her if he intended to shoot her, at her heart. Reg was a good shot, familiar with guns, and took part in Christmas shoots. He was a member of the Territorials, too. He knew his way around guns. Reg Wilmington shot Violet through the heart with a sawn-off shotgun, and she fell to the floor dead upon the instant. The wound caused by a sawn-off shotgun, fired at close quarters, must have been horrific. What happened next we do not know. It was entirely inside Reg Wilmington's head. He had no thought for his infant child lying in his pram beside his dead mother. He was in a world of his own. He must have intended to shoot himself, and everything pointed to that intention. including his subsequent note found in his pocket. But he didn't, because he felt
You're
the shock
probably
of the
right.
violence, the appalling sight of his young wife, whom he loved, almost cut in half by the shortened gun. Perhaps it brought a moment of delay to his plans. He would do it later. In any case, he fled. He returned home. To those he told there was no talk of an accident. His note speaks of intention, and until his trial, no mention of accident was made. Something of this kind occurred on that
That's
winter day
evil.
in 1934, something close enough for us to form a historical judgment in the matter, and in this it seems to me, beyond a reasonable human doubt, that Reg Woolmington got away with murder that day.
You want in, Snark?
Reg Woolmington's first act upon leaving the Strangers' Gallery with his smiling warders, amidst the congratulations of lords and officials alike in the corridors, was to telephone home. His parents, waiting anxiously in their house, were driven to a local phone box, and here they spoke excitedly with their son. It was a joyful moment for them, inevitably. When all the due processes of the law had been exhausted, the House of Lords itself, remote from the tawdry decisions of murder trials, had stepped in
Yeah, we
to
can be
reassert
friends.
that shining principle which is sustained in all parts of the world where the rule of law is prized as the ultimate guarantee of the safety of the individual in an ordered society. At the core of that is the principle that a person is innocent until proven guilty. It is a principle we are bound to defend because we may one day depend on it ourselves, or depend on it for our children, or friends, or family, when adverse circumstances may conspire against them. Reg told his parents he would be back in Oborn the following day. The press would have their day with him first. He told them he would return to work. He said he was not averse to acting in movies. In fact, offers to act in movies were not
I'm a
forthcoming.
star.
He did tour West Country fairs, boxing though, for a short time. According to his mother, he received offers from promoters to turn professional, but turned them down. A year later, in 1936, his mother told the Daily Mirror that Reg was working as a cable electrician under an assumed name and had moved out of the district. If so, this was of short-lived duration. He was soon back in the area. He worked as a labourer still, doing what he was best at mostly, farming. In 1938, he married again, to Doris Stone. They had 2 children, and in 1939 he was working as a labourer at Milburn Port, near to the scene of the tragedy. His mother had told the reporter in 1936 that the baby boy of Violet and Reginald had been adopted, and she had no idea of the child's whereabouts. In fact, the child, Peter, was sent to a Dr. Bernardo's foster home, and then adopted by a finance manager, Cyril Edgar Gray, and his wife. They lived in Warrington, in the north of England.
And was
It
forever
was not
sold into
until the
cultural slavery.
1990s that the
The
baby
end.
boy, Peter, who was now in his 60s, discovered who his biological parents were, and discovered, too, that his father had shot his mother when he was just a few weeks old.
Why are you a blue bitch?
He was never to meet Reginald Woolmington, his natural father. He had died on the 13th of January 1962, at the age of 48, at Milburn Port, the place where the tragedy had occurred.
Oh, that's just fucked up. That's so fucked up. That's so messed up. All right, so this is the last bit of video I have, and it's a fairly old one from, I believe, Dead Bug Says. Let me get the... Be pasty. There's Mr. Dead Bug Says right there. Oh yeah, we'll even pin it like we did all the others. All right, giggity giggity. All right, so he's got a totally different style, and I have presented like one of his other videos, an excerpt before. I brought him up before, but his last 2 or 3 have been exceptionally good, better than his usual work, which is always entertaining, although the informative aspects are kind of debatable. And he has a bit of a rough around the edge kind of style to him it's all style, right? I don't know if he developed this style from... What are y'all doing to my channel? Stop being bad. Y'all are naughty. Very naughty.
The FBI estimate that there are currently at least 250,000 cold cases in America alone, and this is one of them.
There has been a major marijuana raid in Dallas County. Several people arrested with 2.5 tons of marijuana. And if you were depending on any other radio station's traffic reports this morning, you probably would be prepared for a wreck on the southbound Stemmons.
Who killed teenager Carla Walker in Fort Worth?
Brandon is coming westbound on LBJ now, just on the turn to the
So how do you remember you're broken out? So distant and I've never felt so low, so long. Now your eyes are colder than December. The fire is out. It's just a dying ember. I thought we
if I can't have
style, man. Absolute raw style.
Carla Walker's funeral, it was an open coffin. People who attended, which were apparently many, said that she was as beautiful in death as she was in life. It was attended by family, friends, fellow students, curiosity seekers. Police photographed the funeral thinking her killer might attend. "17-year-old Carla was a freshman. Her boyfriend Rod was a senior. And they were definitely the cool kids. Rod was a star quarterback on a football team, and she was a cheerleader. And by all accounts, the couple were hot and heavy. Rod had even given her a promise ring. Rumors had it that he'd made it to third base several times, and that he was hoping to be sliding into home soon. And with the annual high school Valentine's dance coming up, there's no reason why that wouldn't become a reality." Carla Walker came from a good, working-class family. She had an older sister and a younger brother. Her parents adored her and the 2 siblings, and worked as hard as they could to give them everything they wanted. Carla was especially close to her older sister. Sharing a room together for 14 years, they had a special bond. Always Daddy's little girl, Carla received a brand new car on her sweet 16th. And when her and Rod started going around with each other, he was accepted instantly into the family fold and could be found most nights at the Walkers' dinner table, partial to Mrs. Walker's meatloaf.
All right, so this guy just has this entrancing series of imagery that really just, it's almost ASMR. His voice has that, in a world where everything is gargled and gravel type of thing. And it sucks me in a way that, like, his choice of imagery fits the cases perfectly, even though I'm sure they have absolutely nothing to do with any of it, right? I think he's rocking it, man. I think he's really got it going on. I really dig his presentation, the way he does his layout, the way he does his broken imagery. It's always broken. It's like there's always a scene, and then there'll be some disjointedness somewhere in the imagery that just, I don't know, I find it weirdly unsettling and at the same time very entertaining. I'm so glad Wolfie tipped me off to this channel. I've been devouring everything he's ever done, to be honest.
Because if he was good enough for Carla, he was good enough for the family. Polite, respectful, and he worshipped the ground that Carla stood on. Carla had been kept alive for 2 days. She's been raped, beaten, tortured, violated in every hole that her guard had given her, with her front teeth knocked out. She'd been injected morphine. I guess she'd been doped up the whole time, but it wouldn't have made the experience any more pleasant. And by all accounts, the petite, pretty young girl who stood at 4'11" suffered more than any human being should suffer. And at the end of it all, her neck was snapped like a twig. The FBI were called in the first day she was missing, and their behavioral eggheads said they figured it was someone from the rodeo because they'd been traveling through the town that day. Because they had a reputation for enjoying morphine and riding things that didn't want to be ridden.
All right. So, because it happened when the rodeo was in town, it must have been one of them bull riders. Makes perfect sense to me. Sounds like a small town cop covers something up to me.
And when they found out that Carla's neck had been snapped, this only confirmed the FBI's beliefs because of the brute strength that it would take. For Western Hill High School students, the Valentine's Dance was the event of the year. Perfect opportunity for you to bring your special lady to the dance and show her off to the other students. And if not, get lick it up and maybe find a new special lady. Dude, you're gonna die alone. There was a buzz in the air, and it was no different.
I know what it is. I just realized what it actually is. All right. Here's. He sounds like my 11th grade shops teacher, Mr. McDaniel. I swear he sounds just like him. That's what it is. That's what. Oh.
Official king and queen of Hillside, it was their time to shine. And they knew it. The two lovebirds met up at Carla's place, and then they went out to a restaurant together. And after that, they met up with some friends.
Good morning, Ajot. Welcome to the show.
Went to the
Good to see you.
You want to come up? They proceeded to do some more drinking, smoke a couple of doobies, before eventually leaving and heading out to the school dance. Witnesses say that Rod and Carla were besotted with each other like any other teenage couple, holding hands, making out. And at the dance, it was pretty well much of the same, with them seeming to enjoy themselves. The dance ended at 11, and then they left. What happened next is Carla's boyfriend Rod's account, and Rod's account alone, because Carla is no longer around to talk about it. After leaving the school dance, they decided to go back to the bowling alley and park, where they laid on the front seat and started making out. Carla underneath Rod, with her head against the passenger door, using her purse as a pillow. And as they got hot and heavy, the passenger seat door opened, with Carla's head falling backwards, and as Rod looked up, he was pistol whipped. And a hillbilly voice said, "I'm gonna kill you." And he shot him, and he was grazed in the side of the head.
Hey, what's that clicking
The hillbilly
sound?
pulled the trigger 3 more times, and the gun just clicked. So he continued to pistol whip Rod as he started to fall unconscious. But before he did, he saw a man in the cowboy hat dragging Carla away, and Carla screaming, "Get my dad! Get my dad!" When Rod woke up, and what he believed to be 5 minutes later, Carla was gone, and he was bleeding. He drove in the car back to Carla's place, driving up onto the lawn, slamming his fist on the door, covered in blood. "Mr. Walker, they've taken Carla. They've taken Carla." Carla's father, visibly shaken, called the police and then drove with Rod to the bowling alley. But it was too late. She was gone. When cops arrived at the bowling alley parking lot at about 2 a.m., it was empty. Nothing there, except for Carla's purse and the cartridge of a gun with one of its bullets spent. And yeah, sure, there were blood everywhere. Rod was covered in it, but there was no sign of Carla's blood or Carla. But something about his story didn't sit right with cops. First of all, Rod said they took Carla. Then he changed it to someone took Carla. And yeah, sure, he gave a pretty good description of a comic book hillbilly, but we've all seen Hee-Haw. It just seemed too easy. And why didn't he drive to the police station instead of Carla's house? Although Carla's was closer, it still seemed an odd decision. In his original interview, he said he'd only been passed out for 5 minutes, but Carla's family said that when he got there, his blood was dry and the wounds were scabbed up. Yet the house was only 10 minutes away. No other fingerprints but his and Carla's. And unless he was a quick healer, was it so crazy to think that maybe Rod wanted to cash in on that promise ring? And Carla didn't like the terms and conditions that he was presenting. When Fort Worth woke up to hear that a pretty young girl had been abducted from a car right from underneath her boyfriend, well, they were mortified. And the fact that they'd just been out at a Valentine's dance, it seemed to make it that much worse. And the whole town felt for the Walkers and what they must have been going through, and they prayed. And Carla's parents contacted the papers to release a statement to the abductor that they would pay anything to get their daughter back alive. And from there, the whole community pitched in to raise that money. From Carla's cheerleader squad selling raffle tickets, and the local Shriner clubs giving up bingo proceeds. Seemed that everybody in the state was doing something to make sure that Carla came home, while the FBI was running checks on every shit stick in town. But in the end, it wasn't enough, because it was 4 days later the FBI received an anonymous call on where they should be looking for Carla.
I gave you a home, I got you so.
And true to the caller's words, Carla was there, and the 2 patrolmen who found her cordoned off the area and waited for detectives.
You are a wolf within sheep's clothing.
And the one cop stated she looked tiny as she lay there half naked.
Now you're down upon your rotten luck. Damn if I don't give a fuck, 'cause I am not your savior anymore.
And they took Carla back to the morgue, and it seemed inconceivable that anyone could do something like this to a child. And when the rest of the country found out, it was generally agreed that no one wanted to know what had happened to Carla in those 2 days that she had been kept alive. And with no real forensics at that time, there was not much anyone could do, except maybe hope her killer would turn himself in from the guilt. And her high school silently mourned the death of their princess. But the cops weren't gonna let things rest so easily, and didn't believe that Johnny Handsome was so squeaky clean. So they decided to do their own little test. And the way they figured it was, Rod could have easily killed Carla, went and dropped off her body, and made it back to her parents' place in time. And that would explain the dried blood as well. So they had him in for questioning again and again, giving him 2 polygraph tests, and each time he came out cleaner than a nun's asshole. And when he finally graduated and decided to leave town, cops couldn't stop him. and he went and worked on the oil rigs. The shit ended nowhere. It's a couple of years later that an alcoholic drifter, an all-time loser named Jimmy Dean Sasser, stepped forward and he admitted to the crime. But he later recanted on his confession and admitted he was only looking for a roof over his head and 3 squares a day, and they had to cut him loose. And with detectives now retiring, the case was officially cold.
46 years later.
But it was 46 years later that a TV series doing a story on Carla's cold case donated $18,000 to have her dress tested for DNA evidence. And although sadly they found nothing they could use on Carla's dress, they found an inconceivably tiny...
You know, I think that's kind of what he's going for, is like that old Sam Slade kind of... Maybe that's not the right one. It's not Sam Slade. The other one. Oh, God. Who was that guy? Oh, man. I hate it when my brain does this. But yeah, no, you triggered something. Absolutely.
The amount of DNA on her bra strap. So tiny, it could only be tested once. And even though it was mixed with her fluid, with technology, they were able to differentiate. When they submitted that sample to their crime database, nothing came up. So in a last-ditch effort, they submitted it to a genealogy site for people looking for long-lost relatives and their backgrounds. And up popped the name of one Glenn McCurley, an alcoholic, drifter, former rodeo man, liked his morphine as much as he liked his pussy. But there was only one sticking point to this theory. Glenn McCurley had died in 1972, 2 years before the murder of Carla Walker. But with further poking around, they found out that Glenn Sr. had a son, Glenn Jr., who only lived 5 minutes away from Carla's high school. In fact, his own kid had gone to school with Carla's younger brother. And when they sent an officer over there with a body cam, pretending he was responding to a neighborhood's complaint about a car being parked on his front lawn, there he was. Real fucking joker. It seemed almost too good to be true, so cops snuck back that night and went through his garbage. And they found his DNA on a McDonald's straw.
The show, bud.
The perfect match. You McDonald's eating prick. And when they dragged his hillbilly ass into the station, at first he denied it, but they broke him down. Just like his dad broke down those steers.
Mr. McCurley, you seem like you're a nice man. You do. But I have to say, I still don't believe you. I don't believe a word coming out of your mouth. You know why? Because I know that you had something to do with this little girl dying. Okay? I know this. He knows this. That's why we're here. What did I have to do? You were the one that did it. You kidnapped her. You took her and you killed her. You gonna come on
the show, man? You want to do one right now?
Okay? You did. We're not here to discuss whether or not you did or you didn't, because you did. We know you did.
How do you know I did?
Because we have evidence that said you did. Okay, we wouldn't be here. It's been 46 years. 46 years is a long time to just point the finger blankly at some little old man.
It's not because I haven't done anything. I've just been living with my wife and trying to take care of both of us because we're so old and everything. My kid's already gone.
Understand the fact that your DNA was on her body?
No, I don't have any idea of that.
Okay. Your DNA was on her body.
If it was on my chest, I didn't do anything like that.
She wasn't going to be fighting with her boyfriend about not having sex with him and then go willingly have sex with a stranger.
McCurley would eventually go on to tell the investigators that while coming back from a bar drunk, he happened across the young couple and that Carla's boyfriend was roughing her up and trying to take her pussy pie by force because she wasn't giving it to him easily. And that McCurley was a hero and he saved her by pulling her out of her boyfriend's car and brought her to his car. And she was kissing him to thank him and one thing led to another. I guess it was a mutual attraction, because his and her lips met, and she put his hand down on her crotch, and he took that as a green light, and then him and Carla fucked right there and then in the front seat of his car. And then, getting afraid that Carla would get jealous and tell his wife, well, he just snapped her neck to take care of the problem. And although he had been the hero, it had all ended in a tragic accident. And poor Rodney McCoy, it's hard to believe that for his entire adult life, he had to face the whispers and outright blame for being the killer of the girl that he loved. He got married, he had kids, got divorced, had grandchildren, but he never forgot the girl that he loved. And he could only return home and reconnect with Carla's family after the real killer was caught and his name was cleared, and finally getting to face the man that had murdered his girlfriend. But sadly, Carla's parents and some of her family members were unable to feel that feeling of justice as they passed away. And although at first Glenn McCurley Jr. pleaded not guilty, mid-trial, he changed his plea to guilty because the evidence was overwhelming and he was given a life sentence.
A dead bug joint. There you go. Alright. Wrong hole. Well, that's what she said. Actually, we're gonna do a different one. Is that the right one? I always get, yeah, that's the right one. I always get them mixed up. There's like 3 or 4 Midwest channels. And they are all kind of, they all do different amounts of Midwest accountability. It must have been Midwest transparency. Huh. Who was it that came in earlier saying he was going live? Midwest transparency? I don't get it. It was Midwest somebody. Hold on. I'm going to scroll back and find him. Who was it? Who was it? Well, actually, till then, I'm going to do this. Because he's over here talking about being a bachelor.
That adrenaline kicks in. You handle this. This is how I came. This is the process that developed for me through these incidents. You have the fight. You deal with the situation, whatever. When the adrenaline starts to wear off, which means you have time to relax, then you can have the shakes and you can cry. And I've done that. I cry almost every time. I remember very clearly when I was a kid in high school and I'd have a fight in high school. Christopher is correct. I have also been a prick wrestler. Let's see. Callum Dayton, thought patrolling. Yes, military uniform. No, this isn't about thoughts. These women are not using their sexuality. Excuse me. They're not using their sexuality to get their way.
Not gonna believe this, girl.
And I would never suggest that. But he says, this female officer has given me flashbacks of the Halo TV series. I have not watched it, and I don't intend to watch it. And the fact that you say that a female Spartan broke down in combat, oof, how'd she even get to the front line? And Billy Blogs is linking something.
You can't know everything.
I'm not
you
going
shouldn't
to
be
opening
ashamed
any
for not
links from
knowing.
Chat, Billy, just in case.
I mean,
If you want
ignorance simply means you don't know. And there's nothing wrong with being ignorant of a circumstance or situation.
Adrenaline or inexperience. In the case of my fighting, where I cried afterwards, no, definitely not inexperience. I'd been fighting fairly regularly at that point. Woman giving authority. First comment. Okay. I will take a quick look at it in a little bit, Billy. Just remind me towards the end of the stream. And Caucasian Sasquatch says, say hi to everyone. Hi. And I do. I try to say hi to everybody in my chat. I love my chat. I love conversation. I thrive on it.
He discovered shorts recently. I wonder who told him about that. That is Ardent Party. All right, so let's move on to the next stage of our adventure since we're at that point. I'm gonna mute that because it's getting annoying in my ear. Where's my buttons? Let's make this go away. We're gonna do this thing. All right, so I know this is an unusual time for me to stream, and I know there are people who have less than desirable desires, less than honorable desires out there. So I'm going to be real careful about exactly who comes up here and how long and how and why and for what reason and what goes on and all of that silliness, because not interested in none of that. All right. Pasta. Wait, did it not do it? Skadoosh. Right. Let's go back to the YouTubery. We're going to see who else is limited. That gives you Gary. Have y'all checked out Mugshot TV at all? I stumbled across this one a few days ago, and it's a weird one. I'm not sure who it is, or how they're going about it, or who designed it, or who's running it. It's just called Mugshot TV. And it's just recent mugshots from all over the country just scrolling across it. I'm a little concerned about exactly how legitimate it is. I don't know. Looks pretty legitimate, I gotta tell you. There he is. See what he has to say about it. He calls his stream Callahan's Crossroads.
What's up, Caucasian? Hello, everybody!
Welcome to the show, bud. That is Midwest. I swear it's Midwest Accountability. Why didn't it show up? This is his other channel. Right. See, hold up. I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. It's good to know when somebody's got a... What else we got over here? Micro Farmer. If you haven't checked him out, he's pretty cool. If you're in that kind of thing. Man shorts. All right, one day I'm going to do a full saga of man shorts. I'm going to start at the very beginning. We're going to go through all of it because it is a piece of work. And the early ones are actually some of the better ones, even though he didn't have the money to like do what he wanted to do with it. They were raw genius in action. What's up, Midwest? Good to see you, bud. Steve Lato, if you like lawyers, if you like that kind of thing. Oracles and Beyond, she does lives all the time. Oh, he's got a good one. Check this out.
Good morning.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Liam.
And they
we
do
like to
fishes.
say a big thank you and shout out to all the people that made it possible, right?
Yep.
What happened this week?
We got 1 million.
No, not 1 million. 100.
100 people on our channel.
We like to take the time to say thank you for stopping by and looking at our shorts and our videos.
Yes.
We don't do a lot, but we're going to start doing more.
Yep.
What do you got to say to the people, Liam?
Thank you so much. I wish you have a happy day today.
Awesome. Yeah, and a good week, right?
And a good week.
And cheers to
All
everybody
right, so check
out
this
there.
out. These guys have been putting in work for a minute. It's a little bit sporadic, but it's there. He has done these things.
You're not going to believe.
Nope.
Like he's drinking the water.
Oh, yeah, he does. Me and Liam out here cleaning up the filters in the fountain that we got yesterday. Just cleaned the intake, pump, fountain, all the media in it, and it's working like a champ.
Good to see you, bud.
Freeze for me. And Liam put the crane here checking on the turtles, but he didn't realize I took them out of the pond already this morning. Well,
all right, so he's got a pretty good setup for his rig. I can't remember which one it is. He's got about a 4-minute video. No. That shows a general overview of all of it. I don't think this actually has any sound. He's just showing stuff. Yeah, basically. But yeah, he's doing aquaponics for koi in a, well, he's doing the fish part. I don't know if he's actually doing the aquaponics yet. I think he was breeding fish to start with and was like, well, what do I do with all this fish poop?
Well,
aquaponics. That's the answer to that one. All right. What's up, Joko? That is the end of our show, ladies and gentlemen. We shall now transport ourselves to a totally different doohickey where we do totally different stuff. And I may be back after I go dig up a couple more things to look at. I've got a whole list of stuff back here, but it doesn't all like fit. You know, it's like paleontology, archaeology, and space aliens. It doesn't really fit together. It's not a show. Oh yeah, no. He like I said, I think he came from breeding koi, and he started into some aquaponics and stuff. I've got my system out there right now. It's on a free run with almost nothing growing in it because I'm running my solid separator specifically to remove anything that's been hiding around in the system over the summer, trying to get it as clean as possible. And that just takes time. It takes gallons and gallons of water going through the solid separator. So until that's done, I really can't put anything in it. I've also been having an issue with my drain bed. It's either staying drained or not draining, which is really weird because that hasn't been an issue. And I'll figure it out at some point. I got this. See, I got this thing over here that I do when things get slow. It's just the way we do it.
You are listening to Sasquatch Radio, where the technical issues are part of the show.
Hands flat, knuckles tape black,
pick my gloves up off the mat. Fighting's all I ever had. Wasn't born with tons of gifts, had to work hard as a kid. Know that everything I did was to catch the other kids. Slowly built that self-esteem, turned myself to a machine. I'd compete so I'd be seen, I would lose and I'd succeed, but you'd never see me quit. I'd always get after it, knew I had a different gift. I'd outwork any other kid. Deep within our souls, we can feel there's something empty. We need something more, I feel destiny, she tempts me. Tells me there's two paths, they both have a different ending. Choose wise and you'll find that pain leads to ascending. Till I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery, I will fight, never weary, I wanna be legendary. Till I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery, I will fight, never weary, I wanna be legendary. I'll be last place, that's alright, I don't work at a fast pace. I'm a steady horse creeping up straight past it. And once I pass you, no one's getting past me. I've seen people hit walls and they stop there. I don't get that mind, man, it sounds scared. Good things take time, better prepare, cause anything great takes pain, it's a fair. Take it from me, cause I got to this place where no one can tell me to do anything. I call my own shots, I call my own place. I enjoy my life almost every day, and I could teach you if you listen to me. You follow some rules, don't need gifts to be paid. Persistence is better than brains any day. Just listen to me and I'll show you the way. In our souls, we can feel there's something empty. We need something more, I feel destiny, she tempts me. Tells me there's two paths, they both have a different ending. Choose wise and you'll find that pain leads to ascending. Till I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery, I will fight, never weary, I wanna be legendary. Till I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery, I will fight, never weary, I wanna be legendary. Deep within a cemetery, I will fight, never weary, I wanna be legendary.
Hello? Hello? What? No, I don't have a gooseneck trailer. It is 4 a.m. Look. No, I don't have a camper. What? Well, how did you get the Airstream into the swimming pool? Oh, because you thought the tractor floated. No. Skunk Ape, go to bed. Go to bed immediately and stop doing what you... Are you in Florida?
Have some regrets, and no, I never forget. So now you have a few debts. That shit, it needs to be paid with blood or some sort of pain. You caused a permanent stain, which has determined your fate. I've never seen so clear. I feel the end and it's near. The day of reckoning's here. The sound of deafening fear. You gon' die if you try. You just might get a little bit of trouble. K-N-I-F-E, right in your side. You will never see me coming. You gon' die if you try. You just might. My energy is next level, so damn you better be careful. I got an angel and devil, he stabs me straight in the temple. I'm ready to be a rebel, I've got a lot of potential hidden inside of this vessel. That shit is so exponential. I need a first class ticket to the top, no limit. I don't play no gimmicks, I'ma take it
Hello? What? On I-16. Um, yeah, no, tell her to call AAA. I, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I'm not near I-16. No, it's like an hour and a half away. Oh, just swing by and go get her. Because, wait, was she driving the old concrete truck? What? Look, man, this is the last time I'm going to drag you out of the fire like this. Don't do it. And stop giving that girl the keys to my concrete truck. Why? Who? Oh, no keys anymore. Because you hotwired it. Well, of course it's not a good mud bogging truck. It's half full of solid concrete. Yeah, no, it's cheap. No, do not dynamite the back of that truck. I'll figure something out with it. I don't know. Look, give a fucking truck home and stop it. Just quit it. Put it back out there in the swamp. Let some hobo live in it, but don't drive it around. God, that thing is dangerous.
Welcome to my party, we're just getting started. A life is a dream or a nightmare scarring. Hand me a drink cause I think I'm going all in. Get me a shrink who can catch me when I'm falling. Cover up my scars, flip the handlebars. Crashing in my car, wake up in a bar. I'll be a superstar, just on my avatar. This world is so bizarre, empty out the reservoir. Yeah, I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay. I think I'm going crazy, don't think I'll get home safe. So I'm taking 6 shots all straight to the face. I'm taking 6 shots, are you coming with me? I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay. I think I'm going crazy, don't think I'll get home safe. So I'm taking 6 shots all straight to the face. I'm taking 6 shots, are you coming with me? Sometimes you need to let loose, grab juice, get goose, tattoos, taboos, get screwed. Loosen up, buttercup, all those hate comments will never make you feel enough. We're all adequate graduates, heart full of calluses, but we know calculus. Damn, ain't that fabulous? Can't wait to apply all those mathematicus. But we can't get a job that pays us enough. I'm about to pop off. Fuck you, you're lost. We all know that we never really want a boss. So I'ma do what I want to, something I can't undo. Yeah, I'ma do what I want to, something I can't undo. I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay. I think I'm going crazy, don't think I'll get home safe. So I'm taking 6 shots all straight to the face. I'm taking 6 shots, are you coming with me? I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay. I think I'm going crazy, don't think I'll get home safe. So I'm taking 6 shots all straight to the face. I'm taking 6 shots, are you coming with me?
You are listening to Sasquatch Radio, where the news breaks are completely fake because I think they're funny.
And I'm not even making noises over here, am I? That's fantastic. All right, so we had us a conversation a while back on one of the late night after darks. And it was me, I think it was me, Joe Cool. I think Toe for Life might have been there at some point that night, but I don't know if he was involved in the Bigfoot conversation. And we got officially Forest of Monsters in to come try to explain what his channel is about. But in any event, pin that up there if anybody's interested in going to see the source.
Gimmelin. I rarely Hi, I'm Bob Gimmelin.
Hi, Bob.
I rarely start a video with channel news, but I suppose I have some today. My illustrator, Fred Dunn, is currently working on a massive undertaking, and it is one of the most requested videos, and it's a beastly undertaking, and I'm super excited about it, but I'm hesitant to even bring it up because it'll still be a few months before this gigantic project is completed. But I mention it because you may have noticed that there was no video last month, and I just want to make it abundantly clear that just because I haven't uploaded anything does not mean that I haven't been hard at work. A lot more goes into these than it may seem. And trust me, the breaks bum me out too. I too have channels that I eagerly await, so I really do appreciate the enthusiasm. But please know that from the very beginning of this channel, there has not been a single day where I haven't worked on it in some way. Even the day I got my wisdom teeth ripped out of my mouth. So from now until that project is done, I'm going to make do with what I already have on the table, because Fred is most occupied. This video is kind of meh, but I'm working on 2 longer ones in addition to the big project, and those videos are pretty neat, and I'll be uploading them in the coming weeks. Anyway, Christmas before the plague, I visited the zoo, and I took pictures of hominids. I think they were at least 30 feet away, and these were 60 feet away. It's funny, people on my channel squabble over imperial versus metric, and I'm here using school buses. That's my preferred metric. So, 25 feet, or 7.5 meters. Anyway, some were 1 school bus away, and some were 2. And I just couldn't get compelling photographic proof of the darn things. Now these sentient primates are accustomed to being ogled at by walk-by gawkers. They were making no attempt to conceal themselves, and the pictures were taken with an iPhone X, not mine. The 12-megapixel camera exhibits such features as auto-image stabilization, autofocus with focus pixels, optical image stabilization, true-tone flash, panorama, auto HDR, exposure control, 5-element lens, 5x digital zoom, which sometimes I used, high dynamic range, sapphire crystal lens cover, face detection, and more. The lighting was manufactured to perfection, and there was no obstruction, and I had the high ground. So I don't know. But if an image of this quality came from the American woods, and add movement and obstruction, and lighting variation, perhaps the shimmer of leaves, and perhaps a quiver from the camera holder, as I might expect. Not to mention that the thing you're filming is trying very hard to not have something aimed at it. What do you think?
I think Mitch Hedberg figured it out. I think Bigfoot is just blurry. So you're not getting bad pictures, you're just getting pictures. Yeah.
People would say about these. Even my cat is drawn to cover and concealment when there's no need for it. And this is just an example of how amazing these cameras are at point blank. But I have a suspicion that if you're ever this close, your odds of ever posting or sending such an image are pretty slim. If you're that close, I can't imagine a scenario where that would ever be the case in the field of not paleoanthropology. And guess whose task it is to recover said device? As far as the history of cameras is concerned, these images were captured by the top percentile, without question. But the difficulty of taking any convincing photos isn't even really relevant to me, because by the nature of the creature's existence, it's capable of perceiving you long before you level your piece. You could say I believe in Bigfoot under the condition that it is incomprehensibly aware and reactive to its environment. Because, you know, that's a trait that no fossil could indicate. And a trait that may be indicative to no fossils being found. I think that if such a creature exists, then we are merely toddlers in comparison to their perception of the natural world. And I think people overthink this. It's not necessarily supernatural or even beyond the scope of what is reasonable to biology. Think about how we walk through the woods, the slam of a car door, or a good throat clear, or a broken spiderweb where one wasn't previously? What if any number of these things present to them like red flags or police sirens do to us? I don't know. I feel like that changes the odds a bit. I made a video about how great apes respond to new stimuli, such as game cameras. And though the known great apes respond to new stimuli differently, they have one thing in common. All the great apes notice them. And that video reminded me of a very specific memory I have from college. So I had a roommate who was totally OCD. Or at least, he had OCD tendencies. I personally am not particular about such things, so I was always mildly intrigued by watching such a display of orderliness. And there was no greater example of his particularity than the mini-fridge we shared. I recall it well, because I found the consistency remarkably amusing. The bottom shelf of the fridge was just wide enough to allow for 2 rows of cans to sit edge to edge. Per my roommate's compulsion, the cans, of Miller High Life I believe they were always placed in a row of 2, regardless of whether there were 2 cans or 8. The rows always began opposite the hinge side. If it was an odd number, the odd can was always pushed to the back, closest to the hinge side. And that would always be the first can selected for drinking. And I certainly noticed that the odd can out was basically the red shirt of beverages. It never lasted long, because I think my roommate couldn't tolerate the oddness. Not that many college students require any reason to enable alcoholism. It was a Tuesday morning, and I had just gotten back from a run. Normally, we kept the door locked, but my roommate correctly assumed that I did not bring my keys with me on my run, so the door was left open, though he was gone. I went to the mini-fridge to grab a bottle of water, and when I opened the door, I immediately knew that someone had been in the fridge. My roommate's system was broken. An intruder had brought disorder to the chilly ecosystem. The cans of High Life on the bottom row were kind of offset. Now I knew they were always a particular way, so the only conclusion I was left with was that someone had taken a can and then jostled them together in an apparent attempt to make the missing one less obvious. I guzzled down a bottle of Ice Mountain, and then helped my...
Pretty sure that's also Toe for Life. Pretty sure. Good to see you there. You can hop in if you want. I think the link, well, no, the link's not in there anymore. Or you can just watch it's with you.
Myself to the wild turkey that sat
Or
in the door.
you can leave
the
when
only
you're ready.
place it could comfortably
I
fit.
can't stop you.
It was college after all, and drinking at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday seemed like a totally reasonable thing to do at the time. This was before I got my life in order, or attempted to anyway. There was a mystery afoot, after all. The first question I had was what kind of scumbag would be drinking at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. Well, believe it or not, that actually narrowed the list of suspects down considerably. Sipping my sticky glass, the next question I pondered was, who would take a High Life, and why? There were also bottles of Rolling Rock, and of course my roommate's precious and disgusting Guinness. We fought a whole damn war so we could stop pretending to like that stuff. At least I think that's what that was about. Whoever the beer thief was, he obviously didn't owe me or my roommate anything, which was kind of rare, because we had plenty of friends who would have been more than justified in taking a Rolling Rock or a Guinness. So I deduced that it was someone who contributed nothing to the illicit college ecosystem, or else they surely would have taken something that wasn't gross. I ruled out that the beer thief took a High Life to be considerate, because if that was the case, he wouldn't have covered his tracks. And I found the jostling interesting. This perpetrator was self-conscious, maybe because it was so early, or maybe just generally speaking. He didn't want us to know that he had taken a beer, even though we didn't know who he was. So he was concealing his actions, even though his action was anonymous. He had inarticulately attempted to cover his tracks, and in doing so, made his treachery far more apparent, because I definitely would not have noticed anything amiss if he had simply taken a can and then not skewed the rest. Nothing of value was taken from the dorm. There was a change jar and a couple laptops. Therefore, I ascertained that the suspect had no interest in malice or profit. No doubt, he just wanted to ease the burden of life for a spell. Because the fact of the matter is, my roommate or myself would have gladly given a beer away, and we certainly wouldn't have been mad that one was taken. I considered all the factors, and I had a pretty good idea of the identity of the perpetrator. In fact, I would have bet money on it. Then I took a shower because I was sweaty, and on my way back to the room, by chance, I locked eyes with the fiend himself, who was probably scoping out another mark to hit. At first, I could tell he was just going to greet me, but then he saw my face, and then no doubt he recalled that I'm borderline psychotic, and before I even said a word, he ran away shouting, "It wasn't me, it wasn't me." And as punishment for his deception, he had to listen to no less than 60 minutes of Bigfoot talk. Those are the rules. Beverage thievery has consequences. By the way, this is why I wasn't a great student. No, not the drinking, but because the mystery of the pointless thing that happened was far more intriguing to me than the past 2 semesters of learning combined. Anyway, why on earth did I tell you all of this? I'm trying to impress upon you the amount of data that the human brain can ascertain from even the most minute detail. Mind you, I didn't even notice that a can was missing. I noticed that the cans were slightly offset, misplaced by mere inches. I knew the normal creature of my habitat would never do that, meaning someone else did. And it took me all of 10 seconds to solidify a hypothesis beyond a reasonable doubt, a hypothesis that turned out to be correct. Mind you, I'm not saying this is a skill unique to me. In fact, quite the contrary. I've never considered myself particularly clever, especially in comparison to particularly clever people, though I do consider myself to be reasonably clever among people who are not very clever. You could say that this ability to interpret data from our surroundings is uniquely human, but you'd be wrong, and no one can even begin to assess how that skill would play out to a creature with a brain function that is equal to or greater than our own. Perhaps a creature whose whole world is a compulsively organized mini-fridge. A creature that puts all of its brain function not to opening cans or driving or Skyrim, but to understanding the order of its setting, and understand exactly how to effectively respond whenever disorder is introduced. Tracking is nothing more than looking for that which is out of place. Imagine something that has an intrinsic understanding of everything's place.
When you are tracking, that is exactly true. When you are tracking, you are looking for things that have been misplaced by the passage of something that you are searching for. And as crazy as it may sound, it can be very specific. Georgia Creek Walker the other day was doing one of his usual videos where he's walking down a creek picking up rocks, and he comes across a set of footprints and looks at them for a minute and goes, "Oh, that's my brother and his daughter," and walked away. And it occurred to me that man just identified people by shoe prints. And that sounds absurd unless you've done that type of thing before, right? Unless you've come across a circumstance or maybe know someone who can do things like that. It's just not something most people would think about. I mean, you saw footprints on a road, you wouldn't even wonder whose they were because people use roads. This gentleman saw footprints on the side of a creek and went, "Hey, I know who those are. I recognize them." How? I don't know. He does, though. I'll buy it. I have no doubt he's correct.
Of reading a book simply looks around, because the action of reading a book is really pretty remarkable. You literally just stare at squiggles for hours and hours and wildly hallucinate the whole time, all the while considering thousands and thousands of potential outcomes.
Welcome to the show.
Imagine all that brain function going to something more practical, but perhaps with the same level of entertainment. And this is one of my many videos that I always struggle to believe that anyone actually made it to the end. But I really wanted to come up with a way to illustrate just how good we are at not only noticing minute details, but then extrapolating that information into a pretty solid hypothesis. We do it all the time. You could even call it second nature. We usually don't even think about it. Maybe the TV wasn't on the channel you left it on, or the pillow on the couch was moved, or that paperclip you'd been saving is gone. We don't really notice these tiny little details in the woods. Imagine something that does. Then imagine, if you will, that the brain function behind the forest-bound observer just may be on par with our own. I know that sounds like a stretch, but what if it isn't? Like I said in the beginning, because my illustrator Fred Dunn is muy ocupado with a monstrous storyboard, I have to make do with what I already have on the table. And this video was a concept that I had made up a while ago, but then decided not to use because it turned out kind of weird and more protracted than I intended it to be. And that's a challenge with any creative output. Sometimes the final product is hard to visualize until it's actually completed. But like I said, I'm working on a huge project, and I don't want to leave you all hanging in the interim. But the key takeaways are, if an image of this caliber came out of a North American forest, people would say it's just a dark spot. Why didn't he zoom in? Okay, so then let's zoom in. Then someone would say, of course it's fuzzy. Maybe big feet are actually fuzzy. LOLOLOLOL. Or look at this.
Lols.
Someone would say, well, this is obviously a puppet. Except it isn't. And I also think it's worth mentioning that the smooth, featureless, and non-reflective background helped these images tremendously. Add blades of grass, leaves, shadows, and shade, or snow, and they'd be near indecipherable. And of course, all of those elements absolutely pale in comparison to the overwhelming factor that you're talking about a creature that is obviously very good at not being sighted, much less filmed. Because seriously, look at this image, at maybe 50 feet, with limited obstruction and a smooth background. An image like this is theoretically as ideal as anyone could hope for in terms of taking a picture of a Bigfoot in the field. And if this was a Bigfoot, it would prove absolutely nothing. I mean, just look how the infant moves here. That just seems so squatchy to me. Pardon my French. And I just can't impress upon you enough how close I was, between 20 and 60 feet, with stationary
That's
subjects,
speciest.
in an environment that's literally engineered for clarity. And it's just not very impressive at all. If I took an image like this from an African jungle, it would be considered reasonable that I snapped a picture of a gorilla. But because Bigfoot is not proven to exist, the same caliber of image would be dismissed. Which is only reasonable since the burden of proof is on the advocate, but it certainly doesn't help with being taken seriously. So when skeptics say, everyone has cell phones, everyone has cameras, I mean, I'm not very impressed. If I had a photo of what I believe to be a Bigfoot of this clarity, I'd be pretty hesitant to show it off. Well, I should clarify, I wouldn't be hesitant because I'm a crazy Bigfoot person, but if I was a normal person, I wouldn't expect anyone to give it a second thought, even if what I had captured on camera had been clear and definitive to my own two eyes. And as for my menial dorm story, I only went into that to represent an example of the power of the human brain. Again, I'm no Sherlock Holmes. Even a perfectly average mind, such as my own, is incomprehensibly and inexpressibly competent at understanding systems that are so complex that you don't even realize it's a system until you notice an aberration. And this entire thought process that occurred in maybe 90 seconds was literally just an average human dealing with a daily happening. Imagine something not average. Something beyond human, dealing with something that is instrumental to its very survival. Whenever I hear someone say, there's no way they could stay hidden, I just have to disagree. Well, first, what exactly do you mean by hidden? Because it's not like they're all that hidden. I think the majority of people in North America and Europe, and I'd even hazard to say the world, would have a pretty good idea of what this is if it walked in front of their car. So it can't be all that hidden if it is in fact universally identifiable. And as for finding one, finding it I don't think is the hard part, though I'm sure it's certainly not easy. Or perhaps more accurately, allowing it to find you. But I just don't know what you do from there. I honestly don't think it's horribly far-fetched to conceive of something that, simply put, really knows what it's doing. And if you see one, it's not like, oh okay, case closed. You have to prove it. And I think people radically overestimate their ability to do just that. I don't know. I just think Bigfoot would be taken a lot more seriously if we truly considered what humans are capable of, and then considered what something beyond us may be capable of. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I have a couple more videos coming in the next few weeks, and then a big project that I think will be a real crowd pleaser. Anyway,
absolutely enjoyed it. Enjoyed it so much I showed all my friends. Okay, so we chewed into this one a while back, but I went into it specifically for certain details, primarily the raw existence of this particular beast. Now, I don't know of any cases of Gigantopithecus being found in North America, but they were found as far east in East Asia as the Kamchatka Peninsula, and as far north as the northern Gobi. There have been fossils picked up in various places. Typically, and I think this is quite telling, in the Himalayan regions, you find teeth. There are very, very few of these fossils, and almost all of them are teeth. So when you get down to the existence of whether or not a Bigfoot could exist, this is one of the suspects that reigns high in the list of possibilities. Gigantopithecus is between an 8 and 12 foot tall, partially bipedal hominid, probably more like in behavior like a giant panda than most apes. You're looking at something that could be viewed as a giant orangutan more than a giant gorilla, right? So we're talking a 12-foot orangutan. Now, we haven't found any actual full skeletons, so we really don't know very much about their pelvic structure, their humeruses, their ball sockets, and all that stuff. So we can't say for sure that they were or were not bipedal, but we do have some pieces of shoulder, and we do have a few pieces of neck that are indicative of more of a chimpanzee or orangutan type gait than an upright bipedal locomotion, and so they've been tagged semi-bipedal. You know, some apes walk around 2 legs, no problem. But anyway, this is North 02. I think I linked. Did I? I don't know. Is that? Yeah, okay, I linked it. It's linked at the top of the chat if you want to go check out some of his other work. He does a lot of he's not a Bigfoot channel. He's a extinct animal channel. He looks at dinosaurs and ice age mammals. Hello, Ajot. Welcome to the show. Would you like to come backstage if you wish? Or I don't know how the sound's going to work. This is a new mic, and it worked fine last time I did this, and it was fine. Don't know. Have no idea. Because when I first started up, I didn't have any sound. Although I'm almost positive I had it set up correctly. I don't know. What is that? Only a massive gear. Titanium required. No tear from a living tree, a living branch near the size we have seen in toy. Huh, power. Power. But North 02, specifically, Gigantopithecus, one of his ancient animals. And we unmute things.
Today on North 02, we are going to be talking about Gigantopithecus. These animals were giant apes, and some members are estimated to have weighed 1,000 pounds. Before we talk about how awesome these animals were, let's talk about their origins. This species is known from 4 partial mandibles, about 2,000 molars, canines, and other teeth, and possibly even a humerus bone. With jaws and teeth, we can tell a lot about what an animal ate and many other things about it, but of course we are still limited. So first of all, here's what a reconstructed skull may have looked like. As you can tell, the animal is huge. It dwarfs a gorilla in size. The bones of this animal have been found all over places like Vietnam, China, and Thailand. Gigantopithecus had flat, low-crowned molars and heavy enamel. The premolars, canines, and incisors are all broad and flat. Through studies of the teeth, we can tell that they mainly ate seeds, fruits, and bamboo. It is likely that the diet of Gigantopithecus mainly consisted of this bamboo. The teeth of the animals had a large number of canines, similar to those found on giant pandas. A lot of the fossils we find are found nearby ancient pandas. All this evidence tells us that Gigantopithecus probably filled a niche similar to modern-day pandas. I think it is not fair to say that they are very similar to gorillas because we have no evidence for their behaviors. An interesting thing about these animals' anatomy is that they didn't have very large canines. Modern-day apes like gorillas have large, sharp canines even though they're herbivores. They have these teeth for intimidation and defense. It is surprising to me that Gigantopithecus evolved without sharp canines, but it is likely that their size was enough to protect them from predators. Now let's talk about the height and weight of the group. And yes, I'm saying group because there's actually 3 recognized species of Gigantopithecus. The largest of the 3 species, as well as the largest primate ever, was Gigantopithecus blacki. This animal has been speculated to stand up to 9.8 feet tall and weighed anywhere from 1,000 to 1,300 pounds. Some argue that it was much smaller, being about 7 feet tall and weighing 700 pounds, but it is crazy to think that an animal this big that's vaguely humanoid once roamed the earth. The 2 other species were much smaller than the blackie but still very large apes. As of now, we don't know the size of the animal, but we do know it was still very, very large, as you can just tell by how big the skull is and how much larger it is than the gorilla. Since we don't have the full skeleton, we don't know if it's bipedal or quadrupedal, or in other words, we don't know if it stood on 2 legs or 4. The vast majority believe that it was quadrupedal.
Best part about my day, I just got my delivery.
I guess there might be more than one way to skin a rat.
For it to walk on 2 legs. That would have just caused unwelcome strain, and it would just be much more likely that it would walk on all 4. It probably had a very similar posture to modern day orangutans or gorillas when it was walking, but of course we can never know. Gigantopithecus's jaws showed anatomical similarities to that of orangutans, so all the reconstructions are based on the height and weight and dimensions of orangutans. So pretty much, since the jaw is that big, they just scale that up to orangutan. So that's why I think the weights are probably pretty inaccurate, because this animal most likely was not like a orangutan in a lot of ways. Even though it's quite related to it, I bet it had a much different posture, weight, and just overall looked like a total different animal. I find it funny because it was originally thought to be related to early humans, but is now placed in the subfamily Ponginae with orangutans. In summary, Gigantopithecus was a very large ape that was most likely quadrupedal and
Hello,
ape
Nicole.
This
Welcome
animal
to the show.
existed from 9 million years ago to at the latest 100,000 years ago. Our species Homo sapien didn't leave Africa until at the latest 70,000 years ago, so it's safe to say that humans didn't come across these animals. Just because humans didn't come across these animals doesn't mean other species of hominids didn't. Homo erectus arrived in Asia 800,000 years ago. Because of this, we know they coexisted for at least 500,000 years. It must have been crazy to come across a large group of gigantos feeding in the jungle. By this time, Homo erectus was able to control fire and had primitive stone tools. Since the two animals lived in the same region for 500,000 years, it is likely that Homo erectus did not hunt their ape counterparts. Either the apes were too large and dangerous to hunt, or they preferred not to hunt them because maybe they saw them as fellow hominid species and did not hunt them for cultural/spiritual reasons. There's no evidence to back this up, and it is just kind of my own theory, but I think there may be some credence to the idea. We can never really know because that'd be a really complicated thing to find out. The whole reason I made this video was because of seeing this photo. Though it may be inaccurate in a lot of ways because the Gigantopithecus is bipedal and just looks really weird, I still find it really interesting. As you can see, this is just a Gigantopithecus surrounded by other, I assume they're Homo erectuses. So now it's time to talk about Gigantopithecus and its connection to Bigfoot. So first of all, Bigfoot is not real. There's no giant bipedal ape walking around in remote areas all over the world yet simultaneously not being discovered by scientists. It's just ridiculous. Any genetic evidence presented to scientists has always been dismissed as things from other extant animals. They did some huge study where they took a bunch of furrin and they tested the genomes to see if they were ape in any way, and none of them were. They were all just other animals from the region. If Bigfoot were real, there'd be bodies, bones, fur, and remains of some kind. People always try to say that they saw it or make some fake film of it, but that's just not science. Anyone can fake a Bigfoot encounter or a footprint, but you cannot fake genetic evidence. I've watched countless videos of people being like, oh, there's a figure, or we just threw a tree, oh, it's throwing rocks at us. But the only thing that would change my mind on this is if the scientific community was presented with a whole body or just real genetic evidence. Bigfoot is described as a large man-like animal covered in fur and walked bipedally. Bigfoot pseudoscientists will say that this animal lives all around the world. In order for this animal to live in North America, it would have had to come across Beringia and into North America. Over the past 100,000 years, this animal would be living and dying all over Asia and North America. We have no fossil evidence of an animal of...
Well, that's not 100% true. On the next cycle, I'm going to see if I can dig up the most recent find. I believe it's in Alaska or possibly British Columbia, somewhere up in there. But they have found what appears to be evidence of a slaughter site where no tools were left at the site, but the tools were made at the site. And so they're like hammerstones, broken bones, stuff like that, but there's not like a stone knife just laying on the ground. It's interpretive to an extent, but we might take a look at it if I'm still alive.
Of this sort living anywhere in the United States or anywhere close to it. and as far as we know, Gigantopithecus died out 100,000 years ago and leaving no relatives. It is unknown what drove Giganto to extinction. Occasionally, bamboo forests will encounter mass die-offs. It is likely that Gigantopithecus was unable to survive these die-offs and became extinct. That is the commonly accepted theory, but there could have been a lot of other reasons like disease, predation, or inbreeding even. If Bigfoot were to be real, which it is not, then it would not be descended from Gigantopithecus for anatomical reasons and the fact that it died out. Gigantopithecus were amazing animals from our past that we know very little about. I hope in the future more fossils are found for this animal so we can know more. I can make a whole video about Bigfoot, but it seems just kind of pointless because the common man knows it's fantasy. So, just to dispel some things, I was watching this top 5 best evidence for Bigfoot. And if you just look at these pictures, this is the best evidence you could come up with. Like, look at that. You think that's a real animal? The story was this thing was just eating stuff out of this girl's garden. This is just ridiculous. And then this one, people say this is the most compelling one. It's a trail camera. So the story behind this is that this guy was like baiting for deer or something, and then some baby bears, like some young bears, were playing around the bait. And then after that, like an hour later, they caught this photo of obviously just a bear bending over. I can't believe people can't see that. And the fact that baby bears were playing an hour before, it's just so obvious. I think the people who believe in Bigfoot are just so closed off from any idea that it might not be real that they'll just accept anything as fact. It's just crazy. Like, and people try to say like this, like a bear can't bend like this. Like, the reason why I'm 100% sure this is a bear is just because of the back, like the tail end of the body. As you can see, it has that slant that like bears have, and that's just so obvious. So anyways, I'm totally open to debate anyone who thinks Bigfoot is real. I guarantee you will not put up any good evidence, and if you do, I'm happy to debate that. So you can submit your argument or evidence on my subreddit to discuss, link in the description for that. So anyways, back to the video. What I find so interesting about this animal's discovery was that it is unknown to science until a man walked into an apothecary shop in Asia and saw the giant molars of an animal waiting to be discovered. This is interesting because you never know what lies in our past. There's thousands of animals still out there waiting to be discovered. Well, I assume there's thousands, you never know. But just imagine how many crazy animals there are from our past, and even pretty recently, such as the Pleistocene. There's probably thousands of things that we don't know anything about. So anyways, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I hope you guys liked it. Thanks to you guys, I'm almost at 400 subscribers now. Comment down below any suggestions for new videos or any scientific inaccuracies I may have made in this video. So I'll see you guys on the next episode of North 02. See ya.
That was almost a case of YouTube paleontology. That was a very early video he did. He's got much svelter way of doing it now. He's come a long way. I think he's got like 300,000 subs or so now. He's doing super duper. All right, so let's get this one up. Get rid of that. Right. We do the things that we do when we do it. And this is the name of this channel. Cannot remember. Stop it. I said stop. I want you to go away. Why aren't you going away?
Hey guys, so if you have followed our channel from the start, you would have noticed
this is not working properly. I'm unhappy with it. Oh, it's Halabella. Something like that. It's a weird one. I never, yeah, Halabella. That's right. That's right. No, that's right. Yeah, okay. All right. Giggity. Replacing pinned message. We will now go to the beginning of the video.
just as the name suggests, Paranthropus robustus is an example of a robust Australopithecine.
And I bring this up. I bring this specific video up because if we're talking about 130,000 year old kill site in British Columbia, we're talking 110,000 years older than the oldest known site in the Americas. So you're talking not humans. You're talking before humans had supposedly escaped Africa or however that went. You're actually talking Paranthropus, heidelbergensis. You're talking a proto-human, not the human Homo sapiens, right? You're talking one of these guys, not one of us guys.
Species was first discovered by Robert Broom in 1938 when he found a fossil jaw fragment and molar from Kromdraai, South Africa. When he realized that the fossils didn't look anything like some of the Australopithecus africanus fossils he'd found during his career, he knew he was on to something different. Later, many more bones and teeth were collected from the site where the curious fossil came from that together convinced him he had a new species, which he named Paranthropus robustus, and he estimated this species to have lived about 1.8 to 1.2 million years ago. Specimens showed that this new species had very large megadont cheek teeth with thick enamel that focused their chewing in the back of the jaw. A large sagittal crest provided a large area to anchor these chewing muscles to the skull. They also had large cheekbones and large chewing muscles that gave them a wide disc-shaped face. These adaptations provided Paranthropus robustus with the ability of grinding down tough fibrous foods. It has been made clear that robust refers solely to tooth and face size, not to the body size of Paranthropus robustus. In addition, Paranthropus robustus individuals also had long arms with small vertebral bodies and had a brain size of around 530 cubic centimeters. Average height of the males was found to be 3 feet 9 inches or 1.2 meters tall, with an average weight of 119 pounds or 54 kilograms, while females were found to be approximately 3 feet 3 inches or 1 meter tall, with an average weight of 88 pounds or 40 kilograms. Coming to their place in the evolutionary tree. Debate on whether this species represented the males of Australopithecus africanus went on from 1940s through 1970s. Eventually, scientists recognized that the robust forms were different enough to be in their own species and were originally called Australopithecus robustus. Later, the three robust species, Ethiophicus, boisei, and robustus, were recognized as being different enough from the other Australopithecines and similar enough to each other to be placed into a separate genus, Paranthropus. Broom's choice of the name Paranthropus, meaning to the side of humans, reflects his views that this genus was not directly ancestral to later hominins, and it has long been viewed as a distant side branch on the human evolutionary tree. Paranthropus robustus are associated with open and even arid habitats, but these may not reflect its actual foraging preference. While scientists have not found any stone tools associated with Paranthropus robustus fossils, experiments and microscopic studies of bone fragments show that these early humans probably used bones as tools to dig in termite mounds. Through repeated use, the ends of these tools became rounded and polished. Fun fact: a new fossil discovery in the Dromolen Cave System, South Africa, in 2018 suggests that Paranthropus robustus, an extinct species that coexisted with early members of our own genus Homo, may have evolved rapidly during a turbulent period of local climate change about 2 million years ago. Well, 2 million years ago, Homo erectus wasn't exactly abundant. They were probably outnumbered 10 to 1 by Paranthropus robustus. Discovered on South African's Father's Day, which is June the 20th, The fossil is also known as the Father's Day fossil and is also the earliest known and best preserved Paranthropus robustus specimen ever found. The discovery of this fossil also suggests that this hominin evolved rapidly, resulting in anatomical changes that previously were attributed to sex. And with that, we have come to the end of the video. Thanks for watching and hope
you're welcome. I hope y'all check those folks out. Honestly. All right. So this one's straight up a shout out to Joe Cool, because me and him had a conversation one evening about giant birds. And he had stated that he saw a very large bird that was unreasonably large, I think was the way he put it. And so, yeah, he believes in giant birds. I've seen enormous owls, the likes of which you wouldn't believe existed. They are huge, and they're big birds to start with, but some of them be strong, like they've been serving time, right? They be swole, they've been hitting the gym and stuff. Like, it's not all just feathers. And if you've never seen a naked owl, look one up and you'll thank me for creeping you the hell out. Hold up. Oops, I did a bad thing. I do apologize. Let's do this right. We gotta do it right. We gotta do it right. This is Mothlight Media. He doesn't produce a whole ton of content, but what he does is decent stuff, man. It's good stuff. I like watching it. Get up there. There you go. If you want to go check him out, go check him out. Yeah, that's how that works. Without you, there ain't even a YouTube, you know. This is, like I said, this is about the largest bird that ever existed, and this is another one of those channels that does specific ancient extinct animal highlights, I guess. Kind of like Blue Orangutan, but different. I don't know. They all do the similar type things, but they each have their own style to it. This is an earlier one of his, so it's a little bit kind of rough around the fringes, but it's still good, solid information, and you gotta love it when people are talking about giant birds, right? Absolutely.
Years ago in Argentina. When we think of giant flying creatures, our minds usually go to the ancient flying reptiles. But 7 million years ago in Argentina, South America's animals would have lived under the shadow of their own giant flying creature, a monster bird known as Argentavis magnificus. Argentavis could have rivaled some of the largest pterosaurs like pteranodons in size, yet lived in a time when most animals would have taken on forms that would be familiar to us today, and some of the other giant relatives in its family only went extinct as little as 10,000 years ago. Argentavis was massive, and was probably the largest bird to have ever flown. It weighed as much as a human, and a larger one would be able to look you in the eye if standing on the ground. Its wingspan would have been around 6 meters, making it twice the size of even its largest condor relatives. However, it would have shared the condor trait of having relatively short wings for its body size, so its wingspan was not as you would expect for a 70-kilo bird. For instance, one prehistoric bird known as Paleogornis may have slightly surpassed Argentavis in wing length, stretching beyond 7 meters, but had a much smaller and lighter body. Although its closest living relatives are New World vultures, it was actually from a different and now extinct family known as Teratornithidae that inhabited the Americas throughout the Miocene up until the late Pleistocene. And although some members like Argentavis lived in South America, by and large the family is actually better known from North America. Argentavis is only known from fragmentary remains, and most of what we know about this group of animals is actually from another teratorn called Teratornis merriami. This is because it is one of the many victims of the La Brea tar pits, and so it is known from almost 100 individuals. Teratorns looked a lot like condors, but were nearly always larger. Even Teratornis, although much smaller than Argentavis, would have been slightly larger than both the Californian and the Andean condor, the largest living vultures. Although they were very similar to condors in body shape, their long beaks and wide gapes are actually better compared with birds like eagles, and so they may have actively hunted a lot more than any living vultures. And Argentavis also had one of these teratorn beaks, with a gape so wide that it would have been capable of swallowing an animal the size of a rabbit whole. It is fitting that Argentavis was related to condors, as they are among the largest flying birds today. Condors evolved to such large sizes because many of them habitually scare birds of prey and other predators off their catches to steal it for themselves. And they have been observed scaring away animals as large as wolves. In order to do this successfully, they need to be very large. Also, provided there are no limitations to their body size due to their lifestyle, animals usually trend to getting larger because it makes it harder for them to fall victim to predation. And the scavenging lifestyle of condors is less restrictive to large body sizes than other active hunting birds of prey, as they don't need to be quite as agile or aerodynamic. Another reason that condors have less size restrictions is that they are masters of soaring. Once in the air, they rarely flap their wings and allow updrafts, produced when air is blown over hills and mountain ridges, to lift them or let themselves be carried by rising warm columns of air. This is the reason why vultures tend to have short but fat wings, as this adaptation is best for being caught in updrafts, and is also why you see vultures circling, as they are climbing up inside an air column using their excellent eyesight to spot carrion from a distance. Argentavis would have been perfectly built for gliding between different updrafts as well. Due to its sheer size, and that analysis of its flight muscles compared to body weight shows that it would have not been capable of sustained wing flapping, it is puzzling how it was even able to fly, but anatomical evidence that it flew is very strong. It had hollow bones, its wing bones were robust and very long, and it has marks on its bone clearly showing it possessed flight feathers. This is unlike anything that is seen in birds that have evolved towards flightlessness. The prevailing theory is that, like living condors, that it spent most of its airborne life finding and travelling between different updrafts. A study in 2007 found that despite being massive, they would have only sunk 1 meter per second while gliding, which is actually comparable to some living vultures like the black vulture. And many updrafts would easily be powerful enough to lift them, showing that they would not just be able to take to the skies, but were probably quite elegant flyers as well. However, the elegance would have only come once they were in the air, as takeoff and landing seems like it would have been quite problematic for them. The 2007 study argues that takeoff from flat land would have been very difficult because of their weight, but also that their wings would flap down twice their height. They probably would have needed to take off from a slope like a hang glider or jump from a cliff edge. Argentavis was probably primarily a mountain bird, where it would have been able to take off and land without incident, and also use the updrafts of the hills and mountains to stay in the air for long periods of time.
Morning to
and
you.
This lifestyle is very feasible, as this is how the Andean condor lives today, and most Argentavis specimens have been discovered in the foothills of the Andes, but some specimens are known from the lowland grasslands of Argentina as well, contradicting this theory. But the grasslands in Argentina are incredibly windy, so it may have been possible for Argentavis just to open its wings and be carried into the air by a strong gush of wind, as this is the way the albatross get into the air. It is thought that Argentavis's legs were strong and stout, which would have made them quite good at walking on the ground. This may have been an adaptation to cope with not being able to take off with ease. As they were restricted for where they could take flight from, they may have needed to travel to more desirable perches or hills before attempting a takeoff. They may have preferred being in the mountains due to more frequent updrafts, but as these were big birds, would have needed a lot of food and so would have occupied large territories. If there was more food in the grasslands, they would have headed there. Due to the difficulty in takeoff and landing these birds suffered, it is likely that it was not as much of a predator as the other teratorns, and its eating habits probably leaned more towards living vultures. Also, because it was larger than even many land predators, it would have been able to steal prey from many carnivores in South America at the time, so why would it bother hunting if it had no need to most of the time? Why Argentavis went extinct is not understood, but it was probably due to climate change. Although small opportunistic scavengers tend to be among the most successful of all animals, large scavengers are the opposite, and can actually be very vulnerable.
Man, I got up this morning, was walking down the hallway, stepped on a Lego. That climate change is getting out of freaking hand, man. We got to do something.
To changes in the ecosystem. For instance, most vulture species around the world at the moment are in decline, and this is because of humans, but also that they rely on there being a plentiful supply of big animals to fuel their food source, which are in decline at the moment. Although Argentavis went extinct about 6 million years ago, its smaller teratorn family members lived on until much more recently, in the late Pleistocene, and one of the survivors was known as Aeolornis, that was a giant bird as well, with a 5-meter wingspan. It probably lived in a similar way to Argentavis, but would have fed on the North American megafauna, like mammoths and elks. And it probably only went extinct during the megafaunal extinction, about 10,000 years ago. Meaning that this giant bird may have fed on the carcasses of animals that are still alive today. Thank you for watching. If you
No negotiations, it's my way, I was born impatient. And like a damn Freemason, I'll run this nation. They call me a god. 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 I don't know how to stop. I just go till I drop. Whether it's working or shots, give it all that I got. You can watch me work in my element. Anyone in the way is irrelevant. You wanna cross me, cool, not intelligent, cause I don't forget shit like an elephant. Go ahead and tempt me, put it on the line and you'll come up empty. If I got time, I'm deadly. Never caught off guard, no, I'm always ready. I got a hand real steady. Look me in the eye and you'll see no hezzy. About to get real messy. I'll put you in a grave 6 feet like Kenny.
Let's see how bad it echoes.
How bad is it echoing?
It's not.
That's weird. It is on my end.
Okay. Now try it.
Okay, I'm trying it now. No echo. Echo.
Yeah.
Echo.
You accomplished it. All right, so I had it set up yesterday, so I'm how.
I slid into my neighbor's Wi-Fi so I could be here.
Oh, there you go. So what else you doing?
Nothing.
Oh, you would not do nothing.
Thing.
I don't believe you.
No, I'm pretty much down to nothing today. I got a bum foot. It bummed out on me yesterday, and I can't hardly go anywhere or do anything. I walked to the store, and now it hurts twice as bad. So I'm just kind of stuck in this chair. Got to crawl to the bathroom. I got the rest of my coffee and 2 bottles of water, and I hope that means I don't die this afternoon.
Right. Good luck on that. I wish you the best of luck. No one wants to die.
I know you do. Nobody. Well, some people do, but I don't. I the fuck don't. Oh dear.
Link's up there if you're interested. Kind of going over. I went over a bunch of different videos, bunch of stuff. We was I'm not day drinking. No, Sasquatch don't day drink, because when Sasquatch day drinks, Sasquatch gets arrested.
Sasquatch only does that on the 2nd of February.
Yep. At 9 a.m. I take a shot. It'll be great. You'll love it. Once you come by and get offended.
No shit.
Just come on by and get offended. I don't have a filter on that day. I just kind of do away. First of all, it's not.
Lets the groundhog run the show.
Yeah, it's not me. It's the groundhog of DeVille.
Yep.
Welcome to the show, Matthew. Good to see you. Oh, yes, they have. Concrete and steel is a hell of a trap. It's very effective. Like fucking squirrels running across my roof. On there.
Well, as long as they're not like tucked up in your roof.
Right.
Yeah, that's not the bad part.
We got them all closed out now. Right. Oh. What's up, bud?
Were you saying you wanted
an echo?
Well,
Because here I am.
Summon one.
I'm always the culprit.
Actually, I think it
Echo,
was.
echo, echo.
Culprit.
Oh, there's the UFO.
That's cool.
Oh, that's me. Oh, but you figured out how to fix it.
I don't know. Maybe.
You did the other day. Did forget already?
No, it's just updates, reset everything. And so I have to go through and hand build it each time I set it up. And I never know.
Hey, bro, you know Melissa Stedman, don't you?
Not off the top of my head. Should I?
She's almost as big of a mod god as Heather.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Big in the community.
I've seen Melissa Stedman around. I have.
Yeah. She was Manuel Mata's first mod in his live streams because he was just running. He was letting them run amok because he really didn't know how to deal with that and even how to mod anybody. She reached out. You know, the Operation Free Manuel Mata was finally a success. He got out the day before yesterday.
Yay!
And hallelujah is right. And she reached out to someone for some possible help because Manuel is going to have case law. And I'm pushing for Mata versus those putos, but it's not going to happen that way. She reached out to this dude and said, "Look, I know Manuel's big brother. You need to give him a call, or would you mind giving him a call? We really kind of need your pointers and advice on this." And the man called me, and I'm telling you this story, and dude, I feel like a fucking squealing girl at a Beatles concert. It was Philip Turner. You know who Philip Turner is?
No way. The Batosai.
The Batosai. Turner versus Driver.
Oh, cool.
That Turner.
Did you squeal and go, "Hey"?
Oh, no. Yeah, I know how to act around celebrity. You know, I've done probably 15 years of my life was done in concert security, and then Dad had the gym for 37 years. Every time someone famous came in town, they wanted to work out. That's where they went because right down the street from the Hilton.
Right.
And I mean, WWF, rock stars, rappers, the whole nine yards. And you know who my cousin is. I know how to act around people who have some kind of a status. So it wasn't like I was a little kid screaming.
I just lose my shit and go crazy like a freaking rabid monkey on peyote. That's what I do.
Rabid monkey on peyote. So I got a hold of Manuel this morning finally, and I told him, I said, "You're never going to believe who I talked to yesterday." He goes, "Who?" And I said, "Well, you know, we really were. You know, Melissa reached out to him and wanting to, you know, see if he wouldn't mind giving you some pointers on it." He goes, "Who is it?" And I kept on. He goes, "Who is it, cabron?" I said, "Philip fucking Turner." And his voice just instantly was like, "Really?" I mean, real humble. And so that's the deal. We're just gave him Philip's phone number, and he's going to give him a call. I thought that was cool as shit because of who we are out here. That's kind of, I don't know, like meeting goddamn Elvis or something.
Yeah, I can see that.
Dude, that's hilarious. Come on by and get, what'd you say? Come on by and get offended.
Yeah, come on by and get offended.
I love that.
Absolutely amazing. Well, for the next 330 days, you got to find some other creepy crap to upload for us.
Yeah, you're right.
That's your job, dude. Without you, I don't have creepy crap to look at. That's Drew from Living Histories Mysteries.
Oh yeah.
He's like, I've got my final video for the 35 days of Halloween or whatever it is, 33 days.
Yeah.
35 days, yeah. And he's like, what am I supposed to do now? I'm like, make me some more stuff, dude.
Right.
Stop now. You just got started. He don't want to hear that. This is his channel.
Who was the dude a minute ago with the douche kazoo?
The douche kazoo.
Yeah, that's what I call those vape mods. It's called a douche kazoo. I don't. The dude on the front porch blowing clouds, and
that was I don't know who that guy is, but he was on the channel with shit, freaking name. It's like Misty's Secret Garden or something like that.
Oh yeah, I've seen her.
Yeah, well, she's got a partner, and they work on the same channels, right?
Oh, okay.
And this is the morning smoke out that I think just went off live, but yeah. It's a pretty cool place. I mean, I really dig the people there. I can't remember the dude's name. He's going to be so mad. John and Misty, that's right.
John and Misty.
John and Misty Secret Garden.
Ah, okay. Well, I think I'm going to lock up and run down to Come and Go and start day drinking.
Okay.
Hey, I'm gonna come up there and visit y'all sometime, probably here in the next month or two.
Where at?
Up there where you're at?
Oh, I'm in Springfield, Missouri. Are you really coming?
Well, yeah. I know where you are. Goofy.
That would be cool.
My sister's up there. I'm thinking about going and visiting her.
Ah, that's cool. I think I remember you telling me that. That your sister lived up here.
Yep. I birthed 2 of my kids up there.
Oh, hey. Oh, shit. I got to go. I got a phone call coming in. I'll bounce right back in.
But bye.
I guess we're not that important. Waka waka.
Well, I'm sure there's plenty more, way more important, you know. We're just douche kazoos.
Yeah, just another douche kazoo over here. guess we know how
kind of crazy thing is that? Oh, there's that sexy white monkey. Him is sexy.
Yeah. I got a bunch of him. Well, I got about 2 hours of him.
I noticed you've been throwing all those Lazarus quotes on it.
Like that, don't you?
I've been watching them.
Make you feel some kind of way about stuff, don't it? Yeah, bud. I see you.
The quotes or the monkey? The monkey makes me feel ways that are very new and interesting.
How you doing, bud?
Good. I'm sitting here nursing my foot. I've had not psychic, I don't know what your faiths are, but I believe that we have powers that are just in the background that we each have. Like that, if you read this, it's after the Blam. The Chrysalids by John Wyndham.
Oh, that's it. That's the one. Hold on. He's the one who says Widdershins. That's the book I learned the word Widdershins from.
Thank you. Excellent. So you understand. So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm actually sitting here nursing my foot with the medicine for it on the bottom of my feet. And when she said that, I was actually standing up like sideways, getting up to open up my door outside more to get more of this lovely sun weather, because it's obviously way cooler in the mornings right now, and then the afternoons comes on and gets warm, and my plants and everything and my guitar. But but I'm thankful that I have something that's working on the foot. It's just what do you call those things? Planter's warts or whatever. Like,
Oh, that sucks. That fucking sucks, dude.
yeah. So I'm using my own. You know the dry ice you can get, right? Well, you can also get it in a cream. So I'm using the cream to dry out, obviously, the.
I had a cousin.
Oh, I got them all dead but one. You know what I'm saying? Like I killed them all, so that's why I'm very pleased. It's just that all the rest of them, except for this one on my right foot, and
Cut
it's like
that booger out.
an inch around. I know. I'm tempted to go get the dry ice myself. You know what I mean? Like I know what to do. I've done it before. I just like it when the doctor does it because he's better at it, right? Like, yeah. Yeah, it needs to be burned out.
I'm all about some home surgery.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a cousin had 2 on his heel, and when he came out of surgery after those things, man, he couldn't walk for almost a month.
I went roofing.
Yeah, they have to take that whole bit of skin out. They have to all the way down.
Yeah.
All the way down.
I had a bunch on my feet.
Yeah.
We had the appointment. He burned them all off, and then I went to my job roofing. I was a kid. Except I had ADHD, so I was on Ritalin. I mean, somehow the pain, I just didn't. The doctor was like, I don't understand. You know what I mean? Because he told me this is going to hurt, right? So he said, tell me to stop when it hurts too much, right? So I got ready like a little man, understanding what I knew of pain in my mind, and it never got to that point. So he just kept looking at me, expecting me to say stop, and I didn't. So he was able to do the whole thing perfectly well and was like, thank you very much. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, you did it. And he's like, no, you didn't make a sound, and you don't flinch either. And I'm like, you told me it was going to hurt, so I prepared. And then he's like, what's pain to you, kid? And it's like, what do you mean? You know, like in my own mind, it's like I unfortunately, when I was a child, I got hurt when I was young. So in my brain, I understand what the pain of fire feels like. You know what I mean? Like it's intolerable.
You don't know until you catch a burn.
Exactly.
You don't know.
Exactly.
When I burned my hands off, listen, I freaked that whole place out. When they put me back there and they had all that stuff like dripping off my hands and stuff, and she took that fish scaler to me, and I started laughing maniacally. And she looked at me real funny, and I said, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to do that. And she hit me with that fish scaler again. I went to laughing again, and she put it down, backed up, and said, sir, I'm not going to be able to continue if you do that. I said, how am I supposed to stop? It's either scream or laugh.
Thank you.
Which one do I do?
My youngest has got an insane pain tolerance ability. I mean, even when he was little, you know, he had an appendix that was about to rupture or something. Oh no. Anyway, whatever he had, he was in a lot of pain. We were riding in the ambulance, and he just was sitting up in that little car seat, stiff, with just a stoic, just a look on his face.
Oh, one might have been filling up with fluid. It kills. I bet his lung was filling up with fluid.
Yeah, it was ugly, but he's just always just been so stoic and just so good about taking pain and whatever needs to happen. All right, Mom, go ahead. And I'm like, all right now. Yeah, that kid. Bless him, he called me this morning crying. I'm like, why are you crying? He's like, Dad's just an asshole. I'm like, well, yeah, we've always known Dad was an asshole. You know, just take some breaths. You'll be all right.
That's cool. He understands emotional pain. That's good too. Then you
Yeah.
can feel it. Yeah, as opposed to blocking
Called
that.
character.
Right, block the one, don't block the other. Good.
Yeah.
That's cool. He told you about that. Dad hurt me, and he was able to express that to you. That's good. It's good.
Oh, bother. All right, so what are we going to be doing with the day? I'll be honest, I've already done 2 of my shows I was planning on doing, so I'm done.
Unbelievable Sasquatch stuff, man. That was great.
Hello, Smoking Auditor. The hell are you doing today?
Hey, Smoking Auditor.
Hey. You like audit people that say smoking's wrong, and it's like you just said choice is wrong, and then
Pretty much.
and then did you learn them good or like? Because I believe everything's good. It's just that you gotta respect other people and choices and things like that.
I would have trouble defining what it is that he does. He does shorts mostly. Different descriptions. I'm not sure what to call it exactly.
I think he likes to show truth, and he calls that like the smoking gun that he is of truth, right? Like you like to smoke them. It's like, look at this truth. It's funny, or look at this truth. It's ironic or hypocritical. I dig
That would
that.
be hilarious, but nah, he just smokes a lot.
Oh, I did. Oh, the smoking auditor. Got it. I went to everything but Bill. I'm smoking, dude. Oh, right. See, I'm Isabella live because I'm something beautiful live.
It is crazy. 2 houses away, the Wi-Fi gets here. I mean, at least 3/4, if not full. But then the phone service I pay for, it's got 1 to 0 bars all the time now. It didn't used to be that way.
I know, but it gets
I don't
that
get it.
way. It's either the battery does it after a certain amount of time so that you get a new one, except the phone's far from breaking. They put that in there automatically, at which point it always will sit at that 0 to 1 bar. Yet your phone's still charging up the same amount of cell, you know what I mean, the same amount of juice that it has in it. It's just going to start doing that 1 bar thing. I believe it's a program within the phone.
Yeah. Well, I know that I'm having to clear out the storage in my phone constantly, like twice a day.
Yeah.
Just to be able to have enough to sit on YouTube for a while.
Yeah, it limits.
And I don't know why I've deleted almost everything. There's all these freaking apps. I don't even know what they do.
I know.
I don't know what they're for.
I know, and they just keep on collecting, and then I like go, and I'm like, you are very similar to myself. It may be that you recognize that you don't like exactly. I don't do things that I don't need to not do, and I think you're the same way. You're like, why would I do that in the program? Why would I do that in the program? And then I go and I say, I've got all these apps. When did they download on my thing?
I know. And then there's a lot of them, they don't even let you uninstall them so that they delete.
It's called bloatware.
They just let you turn them off, or
yeah.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, yes, it's time for me to get a new phone. I guess that's what it's telling me every day. You need a new phone. You're due for an upgrade.
Go spend money.
But not being able to get to my checking account. Not being able to get to my checking account all month means that I've saved money.
Oh.
So maybe I can get a new phone next month. I don't know.
Interesting.
My debit card expired and they never sent me another one. I finally got it straightened out. I had changed my address with the bank, but the bank didn't share that information with the debit card people. So they've been sending debit cards to somebody else, and I'm just lucky they didn't steal all my money.
That's brilliant.
Well, they have to activate it once by going and using it. So I mean, that's where you know that.
Yeah, I'm glad they're dumb criminals because I know they're criminals.
Yeah, they would.
I know who bought my house,
and it wouldn't be worth it.
But I should get the debit card tomorrow, which is the last day of this month. I haven't had a debit card all month.
Wow!
Twice somebody has just sent me $25 on my Cash App so that I could make it through. And then I've like bummed $5 off of this kid and that kid a couple of times. My kids, not y'all's kid.
Yeah,
my kids. But you know, I mean, like, come on, just let Mama get through till Monday, and my card will be here. And then the damn card was never there. And then now it's the end of the damn month, and it'll probably be here tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully you didn't make two.
But that means there's $150 on my card.
Yeah.
So I already decided I'm going to take 25 of it that somebody gave me, and I'm going to give it to somebody that needs it. And then the rest of it, I guess I'm going to try to get a phone.
Well, yeah.
Because, yeah, this this phone was supposed to be temporary anyway, and I've had it for 2 years now.
Yeah. No doubt.
You familiar with this guy? Oh, you can't see it. Hold on. Shit.
So who are you? I'm Snarkin' Sass. Hi.
Yeah. I'm Isabella Live, Morgan.
Oh, you're Isabella. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I keep that handle like other people think, are you hiding? It's like, I am not trying to hide anything. It's just that I have it's my business, it's what I do, it's my artist name, and I think it encapsulates it, Isabella Live. And I think it's good to have a handle,
That's cool.
But yeah, Morgan. There's only one,
Morgan.
and there's only one, like anywhere. If you go, Morgan, which one? If you Morgan. Luckily, I got that designation. Because I do stuff. I'm live. I do my name justice. I like writing songs, though. I'm a songwriter, and I've got
any kind of art and creativity I'm into.
Yeah.
I try everything new I can ever think of. If I think of an idea to do, I just try to do it. I'm a 2-foot jumper.
That's good.
Yeah, it's worked out so far. I mean, granted, I've landed in mud puddles and quicksand, but I got out because that's one thing they taught us in the 80s, how to get out of quicksand.
Yep, that's right. That's why little boys love jumping in mud puddles. It's great. You get to see where it all goes, where it all lands.
Hold it. Are you Morgan in Canada?
Yes, you knew it.
I know you. I don't know you, but I know you.
I know.
You might know me. I don't know.
That means that you're. Oh yeah, no, I think so. It means that you're alive. White Straight
It's all about the wall, right?
Yeah, they said that there's a certain man. He loves smoke. He loves a joke, and you'll find that if you don't know him, you are dead. Now I know they were talking about the Holy Spirit, but it's like I think that's what I bring to the party. I think I bring a ghost.
You're the YouTube wall.
Yeah,
you make the championship belts and whatnot.
I don't, but I do,
or something like that. I learned of you through Benny Loco.
Okay, and I got like plants. Like I wasn't going to show you until that guy showed his there. Like because some people do that, some people don't, right? But I got. Like right now I'm showing off the pollen seed because like the pollen making the seeds. So I've got mine right there and then I've got it being pollinated. like that.
That is ridiculous. Shut your mouth.
It's naked.
Yes. Right there.
It's for pollen.
And there's my friend Joe. That's how we know each other. There's Joe. I play on his show all the time. And Joe and Mitch. Yeah.
A lot of people get uptight about different stuff. I don't think I've ever seen him ever uptight about anything ever. Ever.
No.
It's just not in his makeup. I really want to get a hold of whatever it is he's running his stream on and balance his sound for him. it would improve the situation a bajillion percent.
So it's Joe that had me do these. It was a contest that we did. And I started these about 6 months ago. I told him I was going to have them, so I'd have plants during the winter, and he couldn't. But I did it, and I'm doing it.
That's what it takes. Is the
it's
willingness
still
to do it. They keep saying this guy's live, but when I come over here, all I ever get is a buffer. That's all I ever get. You're gonna play after ad, huh? I see how you're gonna be. Because you suck so bad. That's what it is. I hate you too.
Yeah.
It's so annoying with their things that they do.
Oh yeah. I won't buy any of their stuff or their premium. I just use the free stuff.
Yeah, well, things are getting to a point where the free parts aren't going to cover it very much longer.
I like buying memberships to people's things or whatever, you know.
Okay.
Like supporting people that are doing stuff. Huh?
Right. Yeah, just actively doing things, whatever it is they're doing. Right.
Exactly. I love the fact that I can say that to them and they don't gotta wonder if I mean it or not in the chat. It's like if you meant it, you could give me the $2, man.
I was on a show
Morgan
called Samuel the Infamous. And it was basically a show about them complaining about Twitter. And like 10 minutes in, they turned to look at me. It was like, what do you think about it? I was like, I'm the Caucasian Sasquatch. I can't even have a Twitter. I can't put Caucasian in. It says it's some kind of hate speech. And so I don't
put
have a
Sasquatch in there.
Yeah. They'll be welcome.
Variations, but then again, that's not the point of that's not
Right?
it's not me,
It wouldn't
man.
be you then. That would not be me then. Right.
Yeah.
I get it. You're
It
not
might be a little autistic, but I feel like it's autistic in the right places.
Yeah. I think you'll find that which was narrow of mind has opened a bit as of the last 2 days. Twitter. I've seen a lot of accounts come back of my friends that are banned in the communities of those of us with differing opinions to appear again. So your account might, if you tried, it might be back.
I never had an account because I could never put Caucasian in. It just would not accept me as an option. It just just flat blocked it. Just no. And when I tried to use just Sasquatch, it told me that I was trying to create a mythical being that had already been created. I was like, okay, well, all right. No Caucasian Sasquatch on Twitter, I guess. I don't know what else to tell you.
Wow.
I just gave up. I have a Twitter that is, I don't think I've ever signed up for it. It was the closest spelling I could get to it, but I was so put off by it that I just never touched it again. So technically I have one. I have no idea what it is or what to do with it.
I have 12 of everything.
That's intelligent.
It is.
Yeah, I can't get into any of them hardly.
I love you. I love you so much because wait, is your birthday coming up?
Yes, it is. How'd you know?
I'm gonna say that what is true and there's not much of a veil. So I give the Lord Jesus Christ
I could swap it to Faucasian.
glory because I don't think it's a power I have. Like I believe that we have crystal minds and everything that is available if you can listen and quiet your own sound in your own head.
Hey, bud, how long ago did you read that book? Did you just read it?
Yeah, I read this one in school. I had one English.
Have you read it recently?
Yeah, on stream. You can go to that's one of the things I do on my
cool.
channel.
That's neat as hell. I would definitely check that out. That is cool as shit. But let me ask. Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't it involve a little kid like getting lost in like the fairy realm kind of thing and finding another kid that had previously been lost over there or something?
Oh, you didn't? Okay, All right.
I can't remember.
Let's
I
just
read it
say
when
that. Let's just say that the
long
bombs
ago.
drop. The bombs drop in the world, right? Okay. Now, it's everything starts growing back. Okay, and you can start having a few pockets of people that come out of the caves in a few places. Now, until there's a little bit of civilization, but they can't tell what's going on. You're in Labrador because that's one of the places, along with England. Okay, the island there, right? That's left, and that's where the main thing is over in England. And then you've got a thing in Labrador, and then there's only, except the thing is, everything lower than that is completely gone to like radiation deviation. And where the deviations, you get more things that are standard, you know what I mean? Like corn not being deviated, land not looking completely twisted and like a wasteland. Those places you have people, except they're kind of like back in the like 1900s or so, wagons and things like that, but they've got, and the only thing they have left from the old time is like the Bible and a thing called Nicholson's Repentances. And it's basically a book where they make religious looking out for the radiation poisoning that wrecks everything. So everybody's really religious, but they've mixed keeping things pure in with their religion. So beware of the deviation. And they check out, and the main point is they check out people as well as everything else, the farms and everything else, like the crops. So we got to burn them if they're not good enough. And there's a place called the Fringes where obviously things get more weird. And
you don't even eat it. Yeah.
People, they'll throw people in the Fringes too. So that's the thing. You get a society where you have some people. So you get a society that's living like 1800s, and then you get these fringes, and then beyond that, and then you get these people that are like thrown out in there, and they have to survive and scavenge and all that stuff, and sometimes raid in on the people. Now, a kid that grew up in this place, he's the main guy, like the religious guy's son, and he goes out one day and finds this girl. No, she's a stranger. That's odd because most people know each other because you got to have a certificate that says that you're cool. And they're playing and playing, and she has a good time. All of a sudden, she falls and she her foot gets stuck, and she has to take her shoe off. And she notices, but he didn't think of anything at the time. She's got 6 toes. Oh well, didn't think anything of it. They were playing and playing. She makes him promise not to tell anyone. On the way home, it hit him like a truck. Because when he walks into his house, beware the mutant. Anything that isn't perfect is not a human being, and therefore, and he thought, oh man, she would have been killed by my dad or thrown into the Fringes or whatever. So he realizes that. So they keep it secret or whatever. Now, that's basically the book. Now,
they
start getting pictures in their heads of each other, and they can talk to each other. So that's going to be a problem. Is if anybody finds out, they're going to want to kill them or whatever, and that develops among some of them, and then that gets bigger.
I thought, all right, so I read it when I was like maybe 14 or 15, and it's the first place I came across the word Widdershins, and that's one of the reasons it just sticks out in my mind because I really dig that word. It's a silly word, and I like it. But in my head, for whatever reason, I had it pegged as the Fringes was like fairyland, but evil.
Okay. No.
Right.
Right.
And that it's done from the perspective of not really knowing what the radiation is, isn't it? They just know it's bad.
Yes.
It's bad stuff, bad things out there. But they don't really understand
the time of the old people and whatever they must have done,
Yeah, exactly.
God, yes. And to bring the judgment of God upon them. Correct.
Right. That's cool, man. I haven't seen that book in 10 years, 15 years, and I couldn't remember the name of it to save my life.
Yeah. The Chrysalids.
I'm pretty sure it's one of them that I started listening to when I was going to sleep recently, but I've got like 10 books I started when I was going to sleep, and now I can't finish any of them because I don't know where I went to sleep at.
Yeah. You'll want
that would fuck you up with this one.
The
about halfway through the story does like this 360 thing. Like for a moment in the story, you don't know what's going on because it feels like they changed something critical. Because the chick comes in or the little girl comes in and she has 6 toes, and suddenly you realize it doesn't matter how human you are, they're still going to kill her.
Yes.
Sweetest little girl you ever met. Strung up, burned.
Nothing to do with the truth and everything to do with the law and gaining your righteousness and pumpitude from the law. because if you're the one handing out the law, you can always use that as your infallibility, and you must remain. So anyone else, well, for the better good, we might as well keep my little sin here, hush, hush, and just, and not deal with it. It's the ultimate not having to deal with your own problems if you're one of the persons that hands down the ruling. That's right, the ruling. There should be what should be ruling always is truth in love, one unto another. And we know that, those of us who are truly the children of, I don't like saying God, I like saying love in truth, because the truth is life exists. And what does it do? It does all this. Have you seen a newborn baby? Well, obviously, life exists and is good.
What's up, Carthy?
And desires to have another that is good. And we get choice. So
I'm going to end this in about 10 minutes.
I'm back.
Hey. We see.
You been going down on the yard guy?
Have I been? Oh, that's yucky sounding.
11-11.
You grass on your lips. That's what it is. All right. Anyway,
I call this part down here my tank brush.
You disgusted bastard.
I know, right?
Morgan? You spooky motherfucker.
Do what?
Morgan is a spooky motherfucker.
Oh yeah, one time on stream.
He said 11-11.
The Holy Spirit came in the stream as a dove and flew. Smurfer got it and made a clip of it. And then Holistic Media grabbed it. So if you go to Holistic Media's, you can see it too. You don't got to go to mine. It's, a dove flies on the screen while Morgan's speaking.
Are you sure you didn't eat too many mushrooms or something?
Oh, I've eaten a lot of mushrooms. I've done a lot.
I've had it happen.
Diethylamide. I've gone down the rabbit hole and come out the other end, man.
Exactly.
Like when they were having a birthday for you on the front lawn, it's like, because it's the 25th of December. You know what I mean? You're doing the aliens are coming down to take you to the next level high because you've achieved it. That's a rather standard one everybody goes to, though.
Okay, that's it. After this stream's over, we're watching The Waking Life, and there's no discussion. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. What's The Waking Life? Yeah, it's fantastic. It's very surrealistic, broken.
Is it a movie?
Disjointed, hard to follow. Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of.
Sort of. It's a movie, but it doesn't have a plot like most movies do. It's very
of one's own reality given back to one in a fractalated, in order that they might learn and be brought to move. Because motion
I'm trying to get my mustache straightened out too.
Oh, that's so
reward of
sweet.
Spider-Man. And in a streak of light,
My beard.
arrived just in time, though.
Your tank brush?
I try to keep my beard out of shit. Thank you. It's a personal preference.
Right.
I'm not a rabbit.
I'm thinking about setting up a fundraising thing and seeing who'd pay me to grow out my beard and my mustache.
I used to joke people back when the COVID started that I know I'm not going to get an experimental drug. Are you high on the drugs? I'm not going to do it. And I'm still hashtag pure blood. And the fact is, it scares me that they've got so many people bamboozled into doing the do. What else can they talk them into?
When we get off YouTube, I'll tell you my theory on that.
Yeah, okay. You got my number. You can call me at 3 a.m, bub.
Yeah, this ain't worth it.
Right.
It's not that clever.
I have been turned on to something very recently that is really, really yummy.
Is it YouTube friendly?
Yeah.
What is it? What is that?
99 green apples.
Yeah. It's like
And 99 bananas and 99
Yep.
all of them. They're all good.
Right. The bananas I don't care for because they taste to me like those banana runts, and I hate that.
Right.
That fake banana flavor.
You know, it's not a fake banana flavor, right?
Do
I know
what?
what you mean.
It's the old banana flavor.
It's
The
a
old
lesser
banana
runt out of the bunch.
There
Yeah.
used to be a banana type called Cavendish, I believe, and
Oh,
the
yeah.
Cavendish
It's the
bananas
one we
taste
eat
like
now.
Yes.
Is that what we eat now? Okay, we eat Cavendish, but there used to be a Rosa.
The other
And the
ones were like
Rosa-
Big Boy or something like that.
Yeah, we had Dole. Oh, some places have Dole and the Chiquita.
You know, you guys,
Yeah, we
you guys
killed a
know
bunch of
Banana
people for
Anna.
them bananas.
Yes, we know banana.
You guys know Banana Anna. I called the girls
the Chiquitas.
She
Dangerous.
loves that. You know, every time I refer to them, I'm like, how are the Chiquitas doing? Blah, blah, blah. She loves that.
Absolutely.
AFA Whamley first. Just saying.
Bamley. How about the Bamley?
You know, okay, let's say this.
Sounds like a
Wham
sequel.
Bam, Wham Bamley, always.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That sounds pretty.
It does, doesn't it? But you know, Jeffro is a real close to my heart person.
I love
Jeff is a good dude. And you know, we've had several discussions, and it's really kind of funny that our backgrounds are not too dissimilar, as is yours and mine. Our backgrounds is not too dissimilar. I feel like our community is dear to my heart, but there are those of us that are especially dear to me because we're cut from the same cloth, motherfucker.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
If you cut me,
I've got my favorites.
Yeah. I'm
Oh, my
astounded.
precious little weirdos.
Right?
Man, I pierced my own dick 3 times. I am as weird as they get.
Whoa!
Weird.
We're gonna call it.
Jesus, did I say that or was I thinking it?
Just
Jesus,
said
was
it out loud, man.
Did I say that or was I thinking it?
Out loud
Was I
stuff.
talking?
Horatio,
You said it.
Horatio Wiggins, he had a dick to pierce. Thank you, Horatio. Hey, all Bonapartes.
Whoa, you're not shutting it down, you son of a bitch.
No, it's 4 hours, dude. We're right there at it.
Oh, you are at 4 hours. Man,